welcome to the next episode of the Beach Court Podcast. We're back from Baltimore. Feels like it's been forever since we've recorded because we released that episode a little bit early. But we're back. Max is traveling the country somewhere. Parker's back home judging cups. I'm losing in top fours. We're back to normal. That's just kind of how it goes. But we will bring a lot of information to you this episode. We're going to, of course, talk about Baltimore, how we did in Baltimore, our thoughts on the regional overall. We've got some really big guests on this week's episode. We've got Nolan Randall, who top aided the Baltimore Regional Championships with, they call it Bats and Bricks, was the deck. It's got Noibats and Noiverns and Cornerstones. And we also have none other than Henry Chow, the winner of Baltimore Regionals with the spicy Gardevoir deck that came out of nowhere and surprised everyone. Well, of course, we'll do our trivia segment. Everyone loves that. And then last, we'll close out with kind of like our thoughts on the tournament structure as a whole in Baltimore and how we kind of feel about the current structure. But I'm Eric Ridgway. I'm your host, joined as always by Parker Greenwald and Max Corcoran. Boys, what's going on these days? How you guys doing?
Doing good. Had to get them young judge points at there's also still don't exist, but get those judge points at a cup this weekend. Judge for the good old Nakama League Cup for September.
Yeah,
Had a blast doing it. But yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Max, what about you? What's going on with you?
thanks for me. I've been low key. Haven't been playing too much since Baltimore. I've been visiting family and just really kind of enjoying that time, just kind of relaxing, see family, hang out at the beach. I'm here in South New Jersey. I did open up Cellar Crown ETB because I was itching a little bit of Pokemon. And I only got two hits, and one of them was the Blastoise EX reprint, so a little bit of a bummer. But pulled that nice Joltik, which might be getting a little more competitively viable in the future. So always good to have those around. But that just grinding the ladder, having a good time, and gearing up for Stellar Crown.
Yeah, Stellar Crown's right around the corner. We have currently in the background. I have the Champions League on in Japan. I'm watching Charizard versus Drago. They're playing a couple of matches, and we've got Dortmund next weekend. So good luck to everyone that's going to Dortmund. We won't talk much about Stellar Crown in this episode. We're going to focus mostly on Baltimore. And then our next episode will focus really hard on Stellar Crown and get you guys ready for Louisville here in the North America region. But first off, let's run through our tournaments. I chose to play kind of like a hybrid ancient box. Maddox and Parker both chose to play Regidrago V-Star. Kind of talk through your choices. Any choices in your deck list that you guys want to talk about? Any specifics in your tournament run you want to call out? Things like that.
Um I didn't really have anything specific in my deck. I had the internal battle and I guess external battle of constantly asking you guys, well, what do you think of this? Well, I think this is this, but what is this? And you're just like, hey, you're like just play what you're comfortable with. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I was like, I would have liked Turo in the deck that I was like planning on running it for, but um it didn't make the cut. I ended up not playing it. And it, kind of maybe could have helped me in a couple games, but it's like would I have drawn it at the time? Would I have played into actually like, being able to utilize it effectively? Would I have just discarded it off of Legacy Star when I really needed two other cards? Like, that's not how it goes. But yeah.
Yeah, so how'd you do in the tournament, Parker? You were doing pretty well for a while there. What was your kind of tournament run looking like?
So I was 6-1 going into round 8. I saw us playing against Rowan Stavenov, a friend of the pod. We played a mirror match. I won the coin flip, so I had a pretty big advantage in the mirror match. However, I don't I don't think I attacked turn 2 in our match. And
You definitely didn't game
uh
three. Yeah, the game three was brutal.
game 3, yeah. Or game 2 is brutal, yeah. But we had a really close game 1, like very, very close. And then game 2, he went first. I kind of just got rolled. There was like maybe a point where I could have established, but I didn't get the cards I needed. And then game 3 went to time. Um, well, we knew we were going into time. After game 1, there's only 21 minutes left in the round, so we kind of like established a gentleman's there. We were like, hey, what do we want to do? Prizes, board stay that. And I was like, prizes, I guess. Which inherently gives me a advantage for game 3, but it just didn't go my way. Game 3, he started Cleffa, so I was able to take a prize on Cleffa. And then basically, if he didn't kill my Drago, I had next turn a 4 prize turn, and he ended up getting all the way to Tina, and Tina'd my Drago, and I couldn't attack, so I conceded. Then I played against JW last round on Lugia.
JW Greedwall, yep.
Yep. Both games just weren't good for me. It was weird. Gudra was my only attacker the first game, which like was probably the best attacker in that scenario. Um, and basically he attached a DTE to his Lugia, which I don't know if it was a misplay or not, but like when he attacked, like he was like, oh, it's only 120. So he's like 3-shotting my Drago, with Lugia. So like my Drago knocked out his Lugia, and it got down to a board state where he had only 4 Pokemon. All 4 of them had gift energy attached. And I was like, okay. Like, I think I gusted out his Lumineon and then Trifrosted. And I had like Switch and like another Drago attack to Trifrost again to win the game. And he had like 4 cards in hand. He was like, all right, I have it. And he like Ultra Balled for Weird Ear, attached, retreated, and then knocked me out with the Weird Ear. It's like, oh, dang it. And game 2, I just went Heal Dance, Fast, go. It was just tragic.
Yep.
Yeah, the
But
matchup's just pretty brutal for Drago, anyways, especially
it
if you weren't
is.
playing a Lugia Tech. I cut one also, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing that made game 1 winnable was that I took the rats out of play, and that was pretty much it. But like, yeah. 6-1 to 6-3, very tragic. Everyone was rooting me on and
Yeah.
just couldn't get there.
Hey,
I
you'll get
mean,
there next time. Yeah.
in fairness, right? I mean, I know we'll talk about it more, but just the tournament structure, just as it is pretty brutal. And right, you played Rowan
Yeah.
Stavenau, who then top aided Baltimore, and JW
Yeah.
Greenwall, who I think lost the win and ended up 33rd place.
They
So,
played each other
oh, they
for
did
the
for the
win.
win
They
in.
Yeah.
play each other for winning. Yep.
Yep. Hmm.
So, uh,
Yeah, so that's
that's
tough.
just
I mean,
Pokemon.
two good players. Yeah. I mean, Drago's just really good, right? So that's just. I think you made the
Yeah.
right call for like the decision you wanted to make.
Mm.
Yeah, good tournament run. Sorry, you didn't finish it out, Max. Where did you go? What happened for you for Baltimore?
Yeah, so for me, I also decided to play Reggie Drago again. Felt only more comfortable with the deck since the World Championships, and I'd been playing a lot of Isaiah Bradner's list, just a little bit more optimized, streamlined. We had the Cleffa, we weren't playing the Turo Palpad package. We just had a kind of straight switch. The double super autos, your recovery. It felt very good in a lot of my testing. So was working with Bradner, kind of getting some insight and some tweaks to his list that he would make before. Ended up not playing the Temple of Sinnoh, ended up playing a Jamming Tower, kind of preparing for the Ancient Box. And even that was a direction a lot of players were going. You're just saying that Jamming Tower is a lot more versatile in most matchups. We were expecting Lugia to not do as well as it did. It ended up doing pretty well, as we'll talk about later. But ultimately, our kind of theory was that if Miraidon and Iron Thorns are on the rise, then Lugia is a worse play. That was not the case. Lugia was a great play. Iron Thorns and Miraidon were nowhere to be found, but say la vie. We did end up adding the Gudra last second and actually only played 3 vessels. So overall, the run had a pretty good run. I hit a Lugia round 2. I won my first game, hit a Lugia round 2, and it was just a little bit like I caught the temple. Like I didn't think Lugia was a real deck. Managed to get a tie out of that one. Very very close set. Was able to come back and win one. Game 3 just kind of had no time to finish, and there was no like gentlemen's or anything established. So just a tie there. Went on to win 4 in a row. I do have to say, shout out to a new friend of mine, Jay, who I played. Actually, I didn't play him, but I sat next to him. I think after round 3, one against a what I beat. I beat a Roaring Moon. I sat next to him. He was playing Guardy, and I actually left my deck there. So if I had a nickel for every time I lost my deck at a tournament, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's just weird to happen twice. But anyways, just shout out to Jay reaching out to me and finding the deck. But then unfortunately at 401 we both paired into each other and playing Gardevoir, me playing
Oh, did
Drago.
you? I
Yeah,
didn't know
so we
you
paired
paired
into each
into
other.
them.
Yeah, so that was the funniest thing. He helped find my deck. He reached out to me and then paired into me at 401. And I was like, this is when you tell me that you marked a sleeve and can get me on the deck. But, no, but Jay's super cool guy. It was close set. And again, Gardevoir is like a little sus matchup if Drago can't get going. I managed to win in game 3, and end up 501, feeling very good. And unfortunately, that's kind of where things, go off the rails a little bit. I lose to an Arc Armarouge, which was just really able to kind of keep tempo. I think Drago's pretty good into it normally, but I was playing against Carter, and he's a very good player, world competitor in his own right, and playing a rogue deck that I wasn't ready for. I actually played against an Arc Armarouge at Worlds, which I was able to beat. I was not able to beat Carter here, so lost in a few
If you had a
games.
nickel for every Arc Armor you'd play.
Yeah, I would also have 2. If I had a nickel for every time I played this matchup, it'd be 2, which is more than most people could say probably. So then from there, I'm 511, still feeling okay, but again, it's just like, man, I started 501 and now I'm
Yeah.
511, and I'm like, if I lose one more of these next 2, then I'm out.
Yeah.
So it's just just kind of brutal, the new structure as it is. I'm in a pairing into a Charizard player. Have a good set. I'm able to win game 1. Game 2, I kind of concede earlier just because I know that time isn't on my side. It looks like I would lose that one. Game 3, we're playing pretty fast, just kind of back and forth. I make an unfortunate double prize penalty with the nest ball and collapsed. And then just kind of the game's over from there. Just because when you're that like Drago normally can't win if you fall behind. Like if you're taking 2-2-2, you can win, and you have a pretty good line to win. But if you're behind against Charizard, then there's just kind of like no way to come back. I had like a low odds play to take 3 prizes, to take 3 prizes to win in 2 attacks basically. But he was able to get his 2 prizes, go down to 2 prizes to win. So I'm unfortunate there, but managed to win the last game to close out to finish with a 6-2-1 record, which doesn't get you much more than half a booster box these days under the new structure, but still ultimately felt good about the finish. And again, next time, just going to close things out a little bit better, not make any unfortunate mistakes. And you also learn firsthand, like, man, this is a brutal structure. You start at 501, have a couple bad games, and that's all she wrote. So
Yeah, I mean, like, what was I gonna say? It's just tough structure where we are. I mean, I think you're doing the right thing, and we talk about this all the time. Is when you have to time management so important, and like sometimes in game 3, like those mistakes will happen, but like you have to play faster because like you just have to finish the game, right? So if you make a mistake, it's like it's so much more worth your value to play faster and sometimes make that mistake and that crucial error than to not play faster and tie yourself out of the tournament anyways. So we'll talk more about that later. I'll touch back on it. But hey, both of you got booster packs, and 60 points. I think you both got 60.
Yeah, top 256 both of us.
Yeah, I mean, so good start to the season. You got some championship points on the board. It was weird because, for me, the whole tournament, I think Parker, you got an early loss, I'm pretty sure. Did you have an early loss?
Did.
Yeah, you got an early loss. Maddox, you had the early tie, right? So after 3 rounds, I'm sitting there like I'm 3-0. Like, and I'm looking at, our group, we're doing good. Parker, you're 2-1, Maddox, you're 2-0-1. I hit another friend of the pod from Shift Gear Pod at round 2, a Neil. So after winning round 1, I hit a Neil. And if, for those of you that saw my list on Twitter, I played 4 dark patches, 1 copy of research, and the big moon, so that I can deal with like Charizard and other things. Yeah, in ancient box, right? So I was playing a hybrid box, ancient box that I felt just took a really good matchup spread against the field. It gave me a chance versus Charizard. That was definitely its worst matchup, as well as a Lugia. Lugia is pretty bad because I think our whole group, we didn't tech for it, and this whole structure of like, okay, tech for Lugia. Lugia doesn't do well. You remove the tech, and then Lugia does well. We just keep going in the circle. So, anyways, funny story against a needle. I think it's either game 1 or game 2. One of the 2 games. I'm pretty sure it's game 1. I go Vessel something away, some ancient card for 2 darks. Ultra Ball away, 2 darks for Roaring Moon EX. Double dark patch, both energies. Research. And off of research, all I need is energy Petrant to KO his lone Drago. Because he started Mew EX and had to retreat to his Drago. So that way, because he knows his Mew's going to die anyways if he doesn't. So I was able to like knock out his only Drago on the field, like one of the games, and he's just like, bro, what? like, so I mean, the reason why I played the deck is because it did take a very favored Drago matchup. That was one of the main reasons for playing the deck. I also felt favored in the Bolt, extremely favored in the Bolt, things like that I expected to be up there. And my first 4 rounds, 2 Bolts, 2 Dragos, right? And I was running. And round 4 against George, I had a 20 card deck and I had research counter catcher, and the prizes were in a board state where I needed to take 2 that turn so that I could win the game. And he has 3 left or something like that. Or yeah, he has 3 left. So but I need to keep my board single prize, because if I keep my board single prize and take the KO with a baby moon there, then I'm good. So I research. I have countercatcher research in hand. I top deck Asada. I have to get 3 ancient cards in a discard pile. That turn to just get to my number that I need. So I countercatcher, research away the Sada because my board's already set up. I'm good to go. And it's like a 20 card deck. I got 3 Pokestops. I got 4 vessels. And out of all that, my only card I saw that helped me at all was a Nest Ball, which is for Fez. But just benching the Fez just gives me a lose con there. So, and he was able to hit the boss KO the next turn on the Fez. So I ended up losing because of just the prize map that was left. But it was pretty unfortunate. I think I calculated 80% odds to win that one. So after I lost that one, I was a little bummed. That's fine. And then I hit Sebastian Lashmet, who top in the IC. He's playing Drago. So again, Drago and Bolts is kind of what I expected to hit. We hit a very close set, very, very close set versus Sebastian. It came down to game 3. I think he won on the 3rd turn of time. And it just was very close for both of us. Neither of us played bad. And then I hit Edward Vo playing Lugia, and Lugia just did Lugia things, and I lost, and my tournament was over. So from there, I mean, I finished 3-4-1. Didn't win another game after starting 3-0, but feeling good about the tournament. But I still think the deck was pretty good. I played it to the cup this weekend, and I was feeling really good about the cup as well. I made it all the way to top cut and lost in top 4 to Zard. Again, the Zard matchup's a little sus. But especially when you don't see a supporter in your first 20, 25 cards of the deck, game 3, in turns, you're not going to win that one. So that's fine. I lost in top 4, but alas, we move on. So that's our Baltimore regional recap for our Beach Court podcast team, of what we did. I do want to take a step back and let's think about it as a whole. This was Gaming Grid's first regional with us. Any thoughts on Gaming Grid, on how the tournament was ran overall?
I mean, I think one of the negative things for a lot of people was the venue was scheduled to open at 12, and there were events scheduled around that time, and
On Friday.
it didn't. Yes, and it did not open until much later. I don't remember the exact time, maybe
Right, 1 to 2 o'clock.
No, it
2
was before that.
o'clock
It was
or
1 or
maybe
something.
1:30 or something. It was not, definitely not 12.
Yeah.
So I know they were getting the venue ready, and keeping all of us safe and everything, but a lot of people are unhappy with it. Um,
Yeah.
I was kind of indifferent. I just went and chilled upstairs, but like definitely a lot of people were not happy with that. And the time in between rounds seemed extraordinarily long at this one. I don't know if that really falls on them, but
Gentleman's agreement stuff, right? That's what people were talking about.
it's yeah, maybe that, and all, but it felt I was man, I felt like I could play around in between rounds
True,
sometimes.
true.
But yeah. Other than that, I thought that was fine. Convention hall was pretty good. I know some people were disappointed with the prize wall too, and the fact that the prize wall was all the way on the other side of the building from the actual side event area. Um, but I didn't participate in any of those, so it didn't affect me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my only feedback, again, pieces I heard were some issues around timing and check-in. I know on Saturday morning before the tournament started, there was a massive queue to check in and get wristbands. Again, and there's a lot of things that I don't know just because I'm not there running the event, and are there some factors that are based on the convention center, some based on gaming gen. But either way, it's just not it wasn't a very good look. Things were being held up the start of round 1 was held because there were so many people waiting. So definitely, again, I'm not exactly sure where the issue lies, but it left a kind of poor start to the event taste.
Right.
Of just, hey, there's this massive queue if you didn't get your ban the day before, and we're starting things late, and allegedly a bunch of people received game 1 losses for not being there because they were still in line to check in. So again, a lot of things we don't know, but just not a great look. Overall, I thought the venue was fine. I thought Baltimore was a fine location. I didn't have any issues with the venue. Some of the layout things were a little bit funky, but again, how much of that is limited based off the space that's available. What was very cool is, again, first regional of the season, we're already at 2,300 people. So again, and that's just for the first one. We know that there's some of these events later in the year, especially when we get some of these Southeast regionals or towards the end of the season where they just get bigger and bigger. So I'm very hopeful for just a continued season of lots and lots of regionals. The higher prizing for, again, the fact that we got something for top 256, half a booster box. We normally don't get anything. I'm used to getting a pat on the back and
Like,
30
good
points.
job,
30
bud.
points that says, "Hey, you could have just gone to a cup instead, but you went here, right?" So I mean, I think some of the changes are good. And again, I'm just excited for Louisville next and more regionals after that.
Yeah. I mean, I thought overall, like, I knew there was gonna be some bumps, right? It's their first regional. The time between rounds, while it was not great, I think we got out of there at a decent time at least. It was still like before 9, so like that was fine. The chairs definitely sucked.
Oh, but
Like,
that's not like a
about
gaming
that.
gen thing.
no,
right?
I
Like,
understand
Yeah.
that, but like that's on Pokemon, that's on the venue. Like, and honestly, I do hold Gaming Grid responsible, or gaming. Is it Gen or Grid?
gaming gen.
Gaming Gen.
Talking about Game Grid.
Yeah.
We're not sponsored, but they're cool.
Yeah, they're cool people. But gaming Gen, I do hold them responsible, right? Because like they should see this stuff and be calling it out, right? And like I'm not saying like that they're responsible for this tournament, but like the more tournaments that they do, gaming Gen should have an expectation of the venue that like, hey, you need to give us adequate chairs, right? Like that was just like terrible chairs. So I mean, that's what I expect you to do, right? It's on Pokemon, it's on gaming Gen, it's on the whole team. They're a team. They win as a team, they lose as a team. That's kind of how I view it. But yeah, I mean, overall, I thought they did fine. They were very informative. They were nice, except for I think wait before round 1, didn't we
actually,
have like the Pokemon music that was playing in the hall?
Yeah, it was.
well, and actually another thing I guess that is on Gaming Gen a little bit is that I remember like the week leading up, there were still no details about like scheduling, what events were going on. I remember
Tuesday,
like
right?
tweeting at them on like Monday and then emailing them Tuesday, and I don't know if it was my email related or not, but like I sent them an email, then they posted the schedule, and then they wrote back and said, "Oh hi, our schedule's available on socials now." And I was just like, okay, but it's like Tuesday and the event starts Friday. I mean, it was just like I know that normally like we want some general idea before the
Yeah.
week of, I think, just because at that point people are like, okay, planning
When
the
do I drive?
logistics,
Especially
planning their
people that are
Friday.
driving, right? The driving people want to know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's move on. Let's talk about the tournament as a whole, review the day 1 meta, come back to our predictions that we did. I'll do some highlights and some lowlights from our predictions. So day 1 meta was as follows. Regidrago V-Star at 17%, Raging Bolt 15%, Charizard at 14, Ancient Box at 9.5, Lugia at 7, and unclassified variants jumped all the way up to 7, almost 7% as well. So there's a lot of decks that popped up here that like they weren't ready for on the chart. Like the Palkia Dusknoirs, those type of decks that were there. Some Cloths that made day 2 and did well. We'll talk about those in a few minutes, but going back to our results. So here's some good things. So the people that so for getting the order correct. So you said this was the most popular deck, second most popular, etc., etc. Maddox, you had 1 correct. That was Drago V Star. That's the only one you got correct in order. Parker, you got 2 correct. You had Drago correct, and you also had Ancient Box correct at number 4. I didn't have any correct. So in order, I was terrible, but we'll get to that later. That I made up for it later. It's fine. But on the total of the 6 decks, Maddox, you got 4 correct out of the 6. Parker got 5 of 6, and I got 5 of 6. I'm just gonna call that 100% for both me and you, Parker, because
Wow, none of y'all
unclassified
got
doesn't count.
unclassified.
Yeah, it doesn't count. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, which
We
one
just
did
gotta
I-
put
which-
unclassified.
Which one did I have that didn't make it?
You had Moon.
Oh, okay. To be fair, Moon was best of the rest, first on the list.
True. That's true.
Roaring Moon was 7th.
All right.
Sure.
We'll give you some kudos for that. So now we're gonna take a look at our actual percentages that we chose for decks. Maddox, you had one that you nailed. You said Drago between 15 and 17. You had Drago at 17. I'm sorry, you actually had let me give you some props here. You had 3 that you nailed. You said Zard at 14, 14.05. Nailed that. And you said Lugia at 7. So also nailed that. So
there we go.
Pretty good. Parker,
Parker,
you had 2 correct. You said Zard at 13 to 14, so I gave you credit for that one. And you had Ancient Box at 10. Right on the money, dude.
No, like the fact that that's the one that hit is the most mind blowing to me. So, Ancient Box, 4th most played, 10%. Like what timeline are we in?
Yeah, so he nailed it as number 4, and he nailed it at 10%. So Parker had his Ancient Box meta hat, like
Ancient Box, true believer.
I did.
Yeah.
That's good.
Don't ask about the conversion rate.
Talk about conversion rates. Where did Bolt go? Anyways, for me, I had 3 correct. So while I had Drago at number 2, I did get their percentage right at 17%. But I had Charizard at 18%, so that's why they were number 2. Because I thought people were going to play Charizard more. I had Bolt at 14 to 15%, so I got that one right. And I also had Lugia at 7%. So I got 3 of those right. I mean, I think I made up for like the in the order thing, because like I was drafting last, and I was just like I didn't want to say Drago first because both of them said Drago first. So like
Well,
audience, you hear this? It sounds like excuses.
Yeah.
If he really believed it, he would have said it. So.
Listen, I'm the host.
That's why you never trust who goes last in these predictions. The first 2 that go are on it. Third one's throwing up some stuff for content. But next week we will go over Louisville with 100% accurate predictions.
Maybe.
So,
we'll see.
Probably not.
We might put Entei Valiant as number 1.
No.
Anyways, yeah, so that was kind of our day 1.
No one owns Iron Valiant EXs.
Looking back on our day 1, that was kind of our predictions and how we did. So that was a lot of fun to review and kind of go back on. So let's just talk about the top 8 a little bit. Once again, huge congrats to our very own Henry Chow, who will be on this episode very soon. You guys will hear from him and talk about Gardevoir. He goes over a lot of insightful things. Sadly, Max and Parker weren't able to join me on those interviews, but we got our friend Andrew Wheeler, who was helped me get through that one. And we also have Nolan Randall, who also top-aided regional at Baltimore. So both of those guys did very well. So Henry played Gardevoir and won. Took down Kieran in finals. Also a member of the Shift Gear podcast. With Lugia flying high as always. Man, did you guys watch the finals match? Parker, did you watch it yet?
I did not. I was driving.
You need to rewatch it, because when I tell you Henry was on fire, that secret box was to like full potential. And who on this podcast had secret box in the freaking finals? I don't think any of us would ever predicted that.
We'd have to check back some of the old recordings where you're talking up secret box and we're all saying no, that'll never be good. And
yeah,
here's one of regionals. So this is not your old fashioned. This is not toward guard.
Oh.
I honestly, it is closer to toward World's Gardevoir, but it's not any Gardevoir you've seen recently. Henry Chow's list is nothing like that. It's built to go fast. It has a secret box, as a very explosive tech card. I mean, and again, I'm we have Henry Chow on later, so I'll let him do the main talk about his deck. But again, just an incredible deck. And definitely stick around to hear him talk about it.
Yeah, so the big standout in top 8 is 3 Lugias. 3 Lugias, 2 Regidragos, all the Lugias. I think Nolan was probably very scared to see all the Lugias in top 8. And I think Henry was pretty excited to see all the Lugias in top 8. So it's just one of those metas, right, where we are just like everything takes a matchup into each other, and it's just like, what draws do you get, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
what other standouts you guys want to call out between like top 16, top 32, top 8? What stood out to you in the tournament?
Well, I mean, real quick, I do want to just shout out for the asymmetrical cut, right? We saw, Grafton roll.
True.
Orlando. Shout out Orlando. Grafton's Orlando, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was pretty sure. Yeah. Grab with the innovative Palkia Duscanor deck. So again, very close, just losing asymmetrical cut, and then also a Snorlax all in asymmetrical cut. So these like rogue, these like rogue decks that were like better prepared to counter the meta did very well, and I think no other deck illustrates that better than like the brand new cornerstone Noivern deck that we saw from Nolan, who again is going to have on later, but again, a really innovative deck that had a very high conversion rate for the few number of people that played it. And again, it was just a very smart call to the room. So again, Nolan will be talking about that later, so I don't want to go into it too much. But again, I think it's just cool that like, hey, here's a brand new archetype that you hadn't heard anything about. That just showed up with 20 people playing it at this tournament, and it all converted very, very well into
seven of them in day 2.
Yeah, actually, I might have been like 15. Yeah, I mean, they all did pretty well. I think like of the 15, like 12 of them finished like top 5, 12. So I mean, like they all did very well.
I mean, the deck did very well, especially with some Dragos for some reason cutting colognes.
Never.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Drago, I'm watching it on streams. Seems to be doing well still.
Yeah, I guess also shout outs there are again Rahul Reddy and Ian Robb with in their top cut at Worlds, or symmetrical cut for Rahul's case.
Back cuts.
Who we just had on the podcast a couple episodes ago. Again, I mean, back to back again, just
same 60s. Didn't change a single card.
Well, for Rahul, yeah.
Rahul didn't change a single card.
Yeah, Ian made a few changes.
Yeah.
A lot of the Dragos were cutting clone. I was always a clone enjoyer, but
clone saved my butt. I played a control player.
True.
Yeah, I hit one of the cornerstone Noivern decks, and clone I think made it free. Not free, but like
closer. Closer. Right.
I mean, you take 2 prizes somehow, and then Cologne KO Ogerpon, and then Cologne KO Ogerpon.
Yeah.
For after V Star. So
yeah, because they weren't playing Eerie or anything like that. So
no.
yeah, I mean, what stood out to me, and we'll talk about it later, but the big standout to me in the tournament is we had 4 people lose winning in to cut and miss money. 4 people. This is getting ridiculous, Pokemon. We've got to do something. I have previous episodes. I've talked about the structure. You can make it golf tournaments payouts. It's not hard. Figure it out. People should not be bubbling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad more people are talking about it. It seemed like after Baltimore, because I know you've been preaching it. I don't know since when,
like a year, at least a year ago. Yeah, probably a year ago. Because once the events started getting so large, it just kept happening. Mm-hmm. Like it'd be like 1 or 2 per tournament, like 4. That's crazy, man. That's
just... You got an Orlando guy, you got JW, you got a former world champ. Yeah. Missing out on money for this bubble. Like oof.
Yeah, it's just rough. So okay, so one thing I think I'm gonna call out, we had a cloth that was doing very well in day 2. And I think he ended up finishing 45th. Where is he?
38th. One at 38.
38th. Yeah, I mean, he had winning in the top 8. He's one of the guys that like missed money, and he played this deck, this cloth deck that's so much fun and like very different than what a lot of people would play, and he did not get rewarded for it. And he got so by losing his win in the top 8, didn't get rewarded for it. And it's just super unfortunate to see, but it's out of his control. It's just resistance, right? So, but really cool to see. I mean, there's a lot of cool decks. We can't highlight them all. Alex Shemansky was on Darkrai Dusknoir and made day 2 and finished 9-4. So there's just a lot of cool decks out there.
Also, Lost Box Dragapult on stream.
True. Did that one make day 2?
He did.
Already finish. I got you. I'm already here. I'm already here.
Wait, we're talking about
Dragapult. He finished 98th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even like what Rasmus with Cloth started 9-1. It started 9-1 and then lost to Rahul.
Yeah.
I mean, just incredible run from deck that most people had written off.
Yeah, he had back-to-back winning ins.
Mm-hmm. No, he didn't have back-to-back win-ins.
Oh, no, he didn't. Yeah, no, he had win those 2. Okay, you're right.
Beat Julie and then lost to Jimmy Gibson.
Right. Oh, the
and
moon.
Jeremy Gibson, I believe,
Oh
was
no, I'm talking about the moon player. So there's a moon player at 34 that also missed money, that had back-to-back win-ins and hit Lugia both rounds with
I did
moon.
see that. Yeah.
No,
Oh,
dude,
But
no.
we did see, but that could have been another moon. We already had one moon in Emmett Hurley who made top 4 with Roaring Moon. Again, kind of cool to see some decks that not a lot of people were ready for. Again, Roaring Moon was a deck that just got second at Worlds, and no one really kind of gave it too much attention. And now it is here again in top 4 with another almost in top 8. So,
yeah. Moon's the World Championships didn't happen, I guess.
yeah, I mean, very cool meta. If there's a little bit more time to explore this format, I'm excited to like what would follow
Yeah.
this tournament to see like, okay, how is Lugia being dealt with? How people are now respecting the cornerstone Noivern deck. But instead of that, I know we have Stellar Crown up next.
You know who did make money at this tournament?
Oh, we know. I don't even want to mention it because that would give that would give this person more attention than they need.
All right, anyways, let's move on. So that's kind of like our Baltimore recap. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We're gonna have our interviews very soon with Nolan Randall and Henry Chow. But before we do, just give a quick shout out to Nakama Anime Cafe. We had our League Cup just yesterday. Parker's wearing his Nakama shirt. For those of you that are not watching on YouTube, he was showing you a shirt, and you should come watch it. But yeah, Parker judged us. We had 17 players and had the top 4 cut, and Charizard ended up taking it down. There was a lot of Ancient Box doing very well at that tournament. I remember our friend Jackson was playing Turbo Moon, and he made it to table 2. And table 1 was an Ancient Box mirror, and at table 2 he was playing against Ancient Box. So he looked to his left and he was like, I'm in danger. So Ancient Box didn't make it. The Ancient Box, I lost in top 4, and the other Ancient Box lost in finals. We did have a really cool grass deck in top 4. We had a Toad Scroll EX make top 4 at our cup. I played him round 1. I was like, bro, there's no way I hit a hard counter like round 1, bro. But thankfully the single prize aspect kind of saved me a little bit, and I was able to just buy some time. But I mean, I tell you, it's scary to play against. And he was playing Legacy Energy. It was like it was very scary. But he put that Legacy out early before I used any of my Gusts. I was like, okay, just save all my Gusts. It's fine. We'll just go around go around this thing. But they took it down. So that's we had Nakama. Thanks for their continued support of the podcast. Just a little tease. We got Nakama Con coming back this year in November, Maddox.
November 8th and 9th, I believe, back here in Orange Park, Florida. So
I know last year we had like
November 9th and 10th, the Saturday,
9th and
Sunday.
10th.
Again, fantastic time. I mean, Nakama not only has your innovative decks making top 4, but you also have fantastic food, karaoke, plenty of good community, and NakamaCon's a lot of fun too. Just bringing in a bunch of local vendors, bringing in a bunch of activities, Pokemon and otherwise. So anyone in Florida, pull up there, and we'll be set into more details as we get a little bit closer to that.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so before we get into our interviews, we have to do our trivia. Everyone loves it. I would like, sometimes I'm like, I just want to get to interview, but hey, Eric, we got to have a trivia. And I have to like abuse, Parker and Maddox. That's just what I'm here for. So last time we talked about art rares of Stellar Crown, but now we got to go back to everyone's favorite question. How many EXs are in Stellar Crown? Do not cheat, Maddox. Stop it. I know you have one in there. That's fine.
I have the one right here.
You get the one freebie.
We got Blastoise EX.
All right. So I'm not giving you the plus or minus one because you guys have been doing too well at this lately. You gotta hit it on the number.
Bread and butter is surviving with a plus or minus.
No, none of that. It's because you guys have been gaming the system. You gotta hit it right on the nail this time. Pokemon EX and Stellar Crown. Go.
Let me write this down.
Okay, you got it going. So we got Hydrapple.
Where is?
Did you lose your keyboard? What's going on?
No, I don't. I kept clicking docs and it kept taking me to sheets.
I can also just keep track for you.
Oh, that's fair.
So we got Yeah,
Okay,
or
you keep track
Hydrapple,
for us.
You got
You
Hydrapple and
Terapagos.
Blastoise.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Terapagos.
Galapagos, obviously.
Galvantula.
Venusaur EX.
Venusaur EX, true. We got Galvantula EX.
You're going too
Galvantula.
fast.
We got
Um,
Lapras.
Lapras EX.
We got Cinderace.
You're going way too fast. Hold on.
That's why Parker should have done it, because he would have been typing and going.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Don't offer to keep track if you can't keep up, Eric. Next time we're gonna hit you with some
Yeah.
trivia.
You said
Name
Garvantula.
every EX ever printed. Go.
You said Garvantula, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
Cinderace, Lapras.
There's a few bad ones. Like, is
Did you-
Lucario one of the bad ones, or Melmetal?
Lucario and Melmetal are bad ones. I mean, a lot of them are bad ones.
Well, yeah, true. Dark types. I was thinking of Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX. That's not for a while.
Dark types.
Is there Darkrai EX in this one? That's an older one.
No, that came out in the
That was another
trainer
bad set. Yeah.
thing.
You guys are currently at 9.
Okay.
If we're missing your favorite EX from Stellar Crown, comment it below with the comment Maddox and Parker. You should have remembered insert name of bulk EX.
All right, because I love you guys, I'll give you a hint. One of them is Nick Moffat's favorite.
I'm sorry, Nick.
What?
I don't know your favorite EX.
We've been
from
tweeting
the
about
set.
it constantly.
What's he been tweeting about? Man, I don't know what he's been tweeting about.
I figured that would be like a layup.
I've been
for
too
you,
busy
Maddox.
following at Beach Court Pod on Twitter to see what I'm just sneaking in plugs all over the place. It's kind of
Yeah, I've been too busy watching the Beach Court podcast on YouTube and Spotify.
wow, is
and
that
Apple
YouTube.com?
Yeah.
While you're here, press the subscribe button for more content like this.
Oh my gosh. Comment below what your favorite shout out. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Thank you for not clicking off the video. What is it? Do we just add 6 and call it a day? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, we're at 9. What other weird stellar ones are there? What other like piles are people trying to get to work?
Okay, what's on your list, Eric? There.
You guys have said Hydrapple, Blastoise, Terapagos, Venusaur, Cinderace, Lapras, Galvantula, Lucario, and Melmetal.
Okay, there's also Greninja.
Okay.
Because
Oh,
like
that's in one of the
we
bad
were
ones, yeah.
like, okay, there's also. I mean, most of them are the bad ones.
Are there any other good ones we're missing? We got Cinderace and Galvantula and Terapagos.
Um,
And by good, I mean fringe playable.
we said Lucario, right?
Yeah, I think we said Lucario, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't I mention? Wasn't there like Garganackle that like I
Oh,
thought
yeah,
was
yeah,
I thought
Garganackle.
was a trainer rare?
Yeah, Garganackle EX, yeah.
Is that in this set or is that,
that
next
is
one?
in this set, yeah.
Okay.
That's 10.
That's
You want to
10.
add 3?
You're up to 11. You're up to 11.
11. Yeah.
I'm all out.
Add 3.
How many do we feel like adding? 2, 3, or 4? Or maybe we're right. Probably not though. 2, 3, or 4. What do you think? All right, we're gonna count down from 3. We're gonna count down from 3 and say a number, and then that's the number we're gonna go with. Okay. 3, 2, 1, 2.
3.
All right, we'll go with 3.
Okay, let's dream
We'll go
more.
with 2.5.
So what are you doing? What's the final number?
11 plus 3, so 14.
14. Lock it in.
We're saying we just missed 3 of them.
Yep.
There is 14.
Oh my god!
See, this is
What
the
did
thing. I just throw out a number and then I go with Parker's guess because he's probably more right than me.
3 you missed were Dashbun,
Oh yeah,
that thing.
Metacham.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And
that is a
Nick Moffat's
card.
favorite Earthworm.
Oh
dang.
yeah.
I just saw that LDF video too.
Oh.
Hey, you guys got it though. Congratulations. That was awesome. Good work.
Doxbund enjoyers in the comments. I'm sorry.
We're sorry.
That card actually has some potential.
Yeah.
Okay, but next up we've got the interview from top 8 finisher at Baltimore Regional Championships, Nolan Randall. So stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back to the Beachport Podcast. We're joined here with top 8 finisher from Baltimore Regional Championships, Nolan Randall. Nolan, how you feeling, man? What a weekend, huh?
Pretty excited. Pretty crazy event. I mean, that was my first day two ever. So to
Yeah.
go undefeated in Swiss into top eight was pretty exciting, especially with all the work that went into the weekend.
Yeah, I mean it's great getting that first day too. We've talked about in this podcast some. If you take your first day two all the way to top eight is like incredible, you know. And now you're in a great spot for Worlds next year. We've been talking the importance of top eight on this podcast of how important it
Mhm.
is to qualify for Worlds next year. So how excited are you for that finish and as the points relate to your Worlds invite? Are you going to be going for your Worlds invite this year?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that. There's really a big cutoff between that top eight and below that for regionals,
Right.
especially.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been kind of in university the past couple of years, so this is kind of the first year. I'm really going for my invite now that I have more free time and such. Especially with a good start to the season.
Yeah.
Definitely seems more realistic to actually get this year. I know, unfortunately, it's probably one of the hardest years to go for your invite, but I think we're in a good spot so far, so definitely gonna keep
Yeah.
going for that.
Yeah, you're definitely in a good spot. And for those listening, and then just as a reminder, if you want to go back to our previous episodes, we have a couple of documents out there for how to qualify for Worlds. So if you're looking to do that, like Nolan is, make sure you go back and follow those previous episodes. But Nolan, we'll get started with kind of introducing you to the viewers. Right, you're a name that popped up. You know, like you said, you went undefeated in Swiss. You've got this awesome, like, cool variant of a deck that wasn't really known. A large group of people playing it in Baltimore. But let's get your background a little bit before we jump into your we'll call it a control deck, right? It's basically what it is. It's a counter box.
Mhm.
So we'll jump into that in a minute. But first, I'm gonna hit you with some quick questions, and feel free to elaborate with
Sure.
these as much as you want. But first one's really easy. Toss up. What's your favorite Pokemon?
I like Salamence. It's
Salamence.
cool.
Why Salamence?
It's like the dragons; they look cool. It's hard to go wrong with that.
So you like the dragons, but you didn't play Drago. That's interesting. How long have you been playing competitive Pokemon?
Uh, I mean, I've played as a kid, so going all the way back to maybe when I was 7 years old. I've kind of played cards with my brother and such. Played pretty casually up until maybe 2017, 2018-ish. I kind of went to a few regionals with my friend Cyrus Davis.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the community know.
Yep.
Took a break when I went to university from kind of 2019, and then COVID happened. Took a longer break then, and then kind of been getting back into it the past year. So yeah,
Yeah.
more competitively.
Well, welcome back. We're happy to have you. You said you were in university recently. Where'd you go to school? Where do you live now?
Yeah, so I went to school at Western University in London, Ontario,
Oh,
for mechanical engineering.
nice.
And I'm from Niagara originally, but now I'm living in Mississauga.
Cool. Yeah, so for those of us that listen to my podcast, it's a lot of Southeast folks. How
Yeah,
scared should we be of Toronto in December?
scared for the weather or for the
Yeah, yeah,
players?
we don't like cold.
In December, it's not too bad I mean, for me, but January is where it gets bad, I'd say.
Okay, January's worse. December's
Yeah,
bad. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I might go to. There's a special event in Bogota the week before. Maybe I'll just do that instead because that sounds like nice
that
weather.
sounds like nicer weather for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, but there's no money on the line. You know how that goes.
Yeah, yeah.
Um. Anyway, so what's your favorite Pokemon deck you've ever played?
Ever played? I liked Greninja Break. I know that one's gonna get some hate, but I was a big fan of that deck, and I bricked many times with it, but I still I'm a big fan of the Greninja Break deck.
Yeah, so Greninja is a fun deck. I didn't really play before Sword and Shield, so for those of people that don't know here, what does Greninja do? What kind of deck was that?
It was basically so break cards were basically extra evolution step. So it was a stage two Greninja with a break, which is essentially a stage three. So it was a deck that took a while to set up, but it had like a Frogadier with the duplicates
Yep,
attack, which
yep,
is similar to the Curlia that just rotated with the Mirage step. That
right,
basically let you search your deck for three Curlias. The same thing with Frogadier. And then the Greninja itself had attack that did, I believe, 40 damage and was basically an ability lock for your opponent on their turn.
pretty good.
Another attack that did, I think, I'm gonna get the numbers wrong here, but it was like 60 plus 40 if you return a water to hand.
Hmm.
But the ability lock was the main attack, and then the selling point of the deck was the Greninja Break, which had 170 HP and had an ability where if it was, I believe, in the active spot, you could discard a water energy and place 6 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So
Mm,
basically, like kind of like a
double gunner.
one prizer,
Yeah.
bulky spread kind of damage
Yeah.
ability lock deck. Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned ability lock, and let's go ahead and jump into your deck for Baltimore. Seems like you have a history of playing control decks. Is that kind of true, or is that just luck of the draw of how you did it this tournament?
I don't think I really have a style I stick to too much. I mean, the last deck I played to, last major I went to was Toronto, where I played Sablezard.
Okay.
I'd say I kind of stick to more decks with more like would be a bad decision. I don't really like to play like the turbo decks, like
Right.
the moon or like the bolts. I don't really find too much enjoyment out of those, but I wouldn't say control is specifically what I play, but things that are more off the wall, I do like to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like to play good decks into the meta that people aren't expecting. You like to surprise them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's very sensible. People have that for sure. I know
Mhm.
sometimes I'm in that mode too. So let's talk about the deck you played, the box. I'm gonna call it the counter box because that's kind of what it is. How long was this on your radar? How did you decide to play this counter box? Can you talk us through kind of your process leading up to Baltimore?
Yeah, so it wasn't just my process, it was the entire team's. So initially Natalie Miller had kind of promoted the idea. We have a Discord server with a lot of us, folks from Canada and the US that are in. Natalie Miller presented the idea of this cornerstone mask Noivern EX deck, basically to counter the meta. All these turbo decks like Moon, Bolt, Ancient Box, Miraidon have been popping up, as well as decks like Charizard. So they came up with this deck idea, and we have a similar process where we use basically kind of a spreadsheet where we rank different decks and we rank the win percentages of those decks against each other to kind of formulate what might be the best meta call for an event. And initially, this deck stuck out like a sore thumb with like a 75% win rate with a few games in the sheet. And of course, we look at that and we say, "Oh, this is just some janky deck. This
Right.
is no way this actually wins three-quarters of the game." So what we did was we said, "Okay, let's say it does." We tried it out. We said we're gonna play 100 games of this versus the BDIF Drago. We did that, and the deck stayed at 73% after all those games
Wow.
against the whole entire meta. So the main matchups that we were worried about was Drago and Lugia, and both of those matchups still seem to be favorable after hundreds of games of testing. So that's what really made the deck uh, prove that it was worth bringing to this event.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the bad matchups. That's leads me. One of my questions that I had for you tonight was,
Hmm.
what were those bad matchups? And you said Lugia and Drago was a little sus.
Hmm.
Were you guys kind of aware that like a lot of Dragos were gonna decide to cut Cologne, or did you guys become like were you testing with Cologne, without Cologne? Like, how are you testing like into that matchup?
Yeah, so we basically kind of took the world's list and kind of assumed those would stay relatively similar going forward. So we'd actually been testing with the Cologne in Drago, and we had been finding the matchup favorable with Cologne included. So it was a great surprise when I played against my first three Drago opponents, and none of them played down canceling Cologne in any of the games that I played. So
Yeah,
that was just a great bonus for the deck. It's extremely good matchup when they do not play canceling Cologne, and even with the canceling Cologne, we say it's slightly favored for the Cornerstone Ogrepon deck.
right. Now, so let's talk about we like to talk about how decks can win
Mhm.
sometimes, but let's talk about how this deck can lose. How does Drago beat this deck even if they don't have Cologne? Are you seeing opponents use like Mew EX to copy attacks? Are you seeing opponents kind of use the Drago Vs? What did you kind
Mhm.
of see from your opponents throughout the weekend?
So I beat two of the Dragos and I tied one of them. How my opponent Rowan Stavino, who's a really good player in the game, played it
Yep,
really well
yep,
on his end. He did not play any canceling Cologne, and he didn't play any jamming tower or Temple of Sinnoh, both which are really difficult for the deck to deal with. But he played it really well. He played the Cleffa, which provided draw support early game for him, and he played the Squawk ability EX. So he used the Motivate attack to power up his Mew EX and his Drago V on the bench,
yep,
preserving his E switches and resources.
yep.
And then he would just go in with those in the mid game. It like that's the best strategy they can do without the canceling cologne. but even them doing that, it's slower than if they have the canceling clone. And then in that time, you can establish your board. You can chase their energies with your boss's orders, counter catcher, and you're in a good spot as the Ogre Pawn player.
Now, if I'm correct in doing math, because I've done this a couple of times with Mew EX and this Ogre Pawn, the chest plate, does that make it a 4-hit KO with the chest plate? For Mew,
Against the
so if
Mew
Mew
EX?
EX is copying your attack, is that I guess what my question is what's the chest plate for? Where did you find it most useful?
Yeah, so we initially had a 2 of chest plate in the deck in the early testing stages. It has use. The main uses are against Drago V, where they attack for 130. The chest plate brings it down to 100. So instead of 2-shotting you with the Drago V, now Drago is 3-shotting you. And that makes a world of a difference when you're going into the penny loop game. You need to attach manually. And the other matchup where the chest plate is absolutely pivotal, you basically can't win it without it, I would say, is the Lugia deck matchup, because the Lugias hit for, I believe, 130 as well with its arrow dive attack. Same thing there, brings it down to 100. Then they're 3-shotting you. So is the hands. And that just, in the end game, that is what wins you the game versus both those decks.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a good card, obviously. I mean, it seems like the skeleton of your deck was kind of built from Iron Thorns, like Quad Thorns.
Similar strategy, yeah.
4 Arven, 4 gear, some tenacity to find the missed energies and double turbos when you need them. So that's pretty interesting. Is that kind of how that kind of came to fruition as far as like the base of the deck?
Yeah, I think I joined the process once the kind of the base of the deck had been established. I think, yeah, Cyrus and Natalie kind of ironed that out. I guess like Iron Thorns, no pun intended. But yeah, similar concept there, because basically you're using the Turbo Energize, you're using cards like that, using the pennies. Well, I guess Iron Thorns doesn't really play penny, but it's a similar concept to that, right? You don't want these support Pokemon on your bench that can offer prize cards for your opponent. So you want to really stick to that core strategy. And yeah, the Pokegears, the Arvins, the Colress, you played, I think, 12 draw supporters. So the deck is quite consistent because of that, despite having no real support Pokemon in the deck.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask about next is those matchups where you need to get into the Noivern lock. You look at Roaring Moon, Raging Bolt, Ancient Box, all those kind of decks, right? Talk about the process of getting that board set up. Do you find that relatively easy to set up? Like I assume you're going for lone Noivern against most of those decks.
Yeah.
But if the Mew's a problem, if they have a Mew, right?
No, Mew's not a problem. Mew can copy your attack, but it would only prevent damage done to it by basic Pokemon. So the Mew EX doesn't actually do anything.
Doesn't it copy the Shred attack? Isn't there a Shred on Noivern?
No. The other attack prevents you from attaching special energy and playing Stadium,
right.
I believe.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I guess you just auto win those basic decks once it's set up, right?
Yeah, so essentially anything Bolt, Miraidon, Ancient Box, they can't hit through you. Once you establish that lone Noivern, the only one I would say that's a bit iffy is the Roaring Moon, because it doesn't it places the damage counter, doesn't do damage. So to avoid that, you need the mist energy. So it's a bit riskier because you have to have that mist energy on your Noivern at the right time, or they can just one-shot you with their with the Calamity Storm or Frenzy Gouging attack.
Frenzy Gouging, yeah. Frenzy Gouging Temple was what they would need, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Were there any other auto wins out there that like you felt really good about? I mean, was like Zard like an auto win once you set up a couple cornerstones?
Yeah, my friend hit, I believe, 3 Zards in day one, and I was sitting a few tables down from him, and those games never lasted more than 10 minutes. They'd sit down, he would play a nest ball, he would establish 2 Ogre Pawns, and they would pick up their cards.
No.
Only way, yeah, so that's definitely an auto win, unless they play like 2 canceling Colognes, but no one's going to really play that in their Charizard deck. And also decks that you might not think of that are auto wins. Near auto wins, I would say, is Lost Box and Sablezard, because due to the mist energy, you can stop the Sableye placing damage, and that's pretty much how you win those.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I was thinking about with the first matchup you said Charizard is
Mhm.
the Dusknoir Rabska Defiance Band combo. If they
Yeah.
were playing Rabska, something that like they could do, right? Like the
hmm
pre-evolution for
hmm
this week to grass, right?
It's a
So,
thing. I had that happen to me on a game I was playing on live actually, where they did that. But it's too little,
yeah,
too late.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not enough to get you there. But you are weak to grass, so that thing does start swinging for more than you would think.
yeah. So what are some other cards you guys were considering that you didn't play? Any other Pokemon that you were considering, like maybe Mimikyu or Blocklax?
Yeah, we went through the gauntlet and testing different tech cards and options in the deck. Mimikyu was tested to see if it helped in I believe the Dragapult matchup was the concern, but they have the Dragloak, which can just attack through it. That one didn't work out too well. We tested Pidgeot V and Forest Sealstone. That's just some additional support throughout the game. That it was nice when we had it, but it's just you don't have a lot of ball search in the deck. You only play the two
Yeah,
Nest and the four Ultra. It's hard
right.
to get off, and just the deck space is so tight to fit those additional cards. Um, so there were some other ideas, not good ones. Radiant Jirachi, just to have kind of send up as a one prizer to use its
Or tell you
ability to.
about that one?
No, not actually. Different random Twitter post we got it from,
That's
but
just funny, yeah.
yeah,
Did
yeah.
you guys ever consider like a Pal Pad or any more consistency cards?
Palpad just yeah, it was never really necessary. You don't really have the time to use a pal pad and then find the supporter off of it. It just wasn't really necessary. With all the draw spores you have, you're not gonna cycle those back. The pennies, the 3 pennies plus the cyclone was enough. Maybe you could help add the boss's orders back, but at that point you'd rather just play a second boss's orders, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know if like you need it for like the penny loop if you're trying to get to that.
Yeah, usually you're only pennying twice in those kind of matchups like the drag or the Lugia. Usually like twice or so it puts you ahead enough to win the game when you get to
Interesting.
that.
It's good to know. Yeah, I mean this is a really cool deck. I'm glad you guys were able to bring it to us. So obviously you said Lugia was kind of a sketch matchup, right?
hmm
And you guys knew that, and you hit one in top eight.
hmm
Anything go on in that match that gave you a chance to win? Was it kind of like a blowout? I mean, talk us through. We didn't get to see it because it wasn't streamed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
talk us through your
So
top eight
actually
match.
I did hit 5 Lugias throughout the tournament.
Wow.
Um so yeah, I definitely had my fair share of those.
When you hit
Um
the top eight, you knew what you were doing for very well.
yeah, fortunately. Wasn't enough, but yeah, so the Lugia matchup is quite interesting. It really comes down to how many Cinccino's they play.
Right.
As that doesn't have an ability, it goes right through your Ogerpon, which is the main strategy in the deck, in that matchup. So it really comes down to that. If they play 0 Cinchinos or a 1/1 Cinchino line, you can basically knock that out as soon as they attack with it. They get their 2 prizes, you knock it out, then they're swinging with Lugia Vs. With your Rock Chestplate, again, they're 3-hit KOing you. You're going to win that trade every day, pretty much.
Yeah.
When you get up to the 2/2 Cinchino, the 3/3 Cinchino, Roseanne's backup thrown in there, the matchup gets much worse for you. If they can stream 3 Cinchinos in a row, you just lose the game 2-4-6.
Right.
That's all she wrote. 2/2 Cinchino is kind of in the middle ground. It's pretty close to a 50-50 with the 2/2 Cinchino. They can swing twice, you respond twice, and then you're into that back and forth game. If you can establish enough energies on the board with your EXP share, your turbo energize, um, then you can. It's a close game. It goes back and forth. It kind of depends on if you hit your pennies in the end game. If you can respond to the Chinchinos right away. Um, Unfortunately, Kieran that I played in top eight was on the 2/2 line, not a thinner line that I had hit earlier in the day. And things did not go well for me in game one with a triple mulligan into Pokegearing for Penny as my only supporter in hand turn one,
Okay.
to boss KO my Ogerpon Energy into boss KO my Ogerpon Energy in game one.
Yep. Let's do.
And
Yeah. Yep.
And then game two, it was a bit more back and forth. I only had seen one Chinchino, and then I killed that. And then towards the end of the game, when I was ahead on prizes, so I couldn't counter catcher, Kieran benched another Minchino, too much to my despair. And then I whiffed a Pokegear for the boss, and then that last Chinchino walked through my last Ogre Ponds, and that was the end of top 8 for me.
That's brutal. Yeah, I mean, but congratulations on the finish. I mean, you should be very proud of yourself. Like you said, no day twos. You make your first day two and you make it all the way to
Mhm.
top 8. That's really awesome and inspiring for people out there, especially when they, people want to, like cook a deck, right? Like make a fun
Mhm.
deck. And like
Mhm.
to see an archetype like this show up in Baltimore and do very well, shows to your testing group. Now, one thing
Mhm.
to talk about, and I'm interested if you have any opinions or you ever went through this. There's a lot of people out there that want to play kind of cooler decks or test some decks or really kind of, work together with people, but they might not
Mhm.
have the community and the group that they want. What kind of
Yeah.
advice do you have for people when attempting to test a control archetype and and
Mhm.
and and finding people that will test with you against it, right? Because not many people want to play against control
Yeah.
out in the
Yeah.
community. What kind of advice do you have for people?
So a lot of the games that we played as a group, we would play on live for some games. Towards the end, we stopped doing that because we didn't want to leak the sauce, as you would say. So that was a lot of our games we did testing wise. We would play on simulators against each other. We would get in a call and hop on the Lugia or Drago and then play it against it, and record that data. And also, a lot of us played just games with ourselves. We would have both the decks built physically and we just go back and forth testing the matchup. It's quick; you can get a lot of games in testing wise, and like really iron out the matchup numbers that way. In terms of looking for people to test with, I advise go to your locals, go to your cups challenges, make friends. There's gonna be other people who want to test
Yeah.
all the time, so that's how I do that.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about the new format a little bit, a new structure
Hmm.
of the tournaments, right? So
Oh, okay, yeah,
ties are a little worse in this format. I think we all
a lot
understand,
worse.
right?
Yeah.
So was this a concern for your group as far as the deck choice going into Baltimore?
The deck choice was so far beyond anything else. There was no doubt that this was the deck we were going to play. I believe for the results, it was about 10% better than the next deck. So in terms of ties, it wasn't really a concern. The deck was just going to win more games. If it tied, it tied.
Right. Good. Good to hear. Do you think that Counterbox, not this version only, but in general, Counterbox has
Mhm.
a place in the upcoming Stellar Crown format?
I've honestly played about 10 games of Stellar Crown format so far. I've been grinding this remaining Shrouded Fable format for the past bit, but we are turning our sights to the next format soon. Louisville I'll be going to, so got to figure out something for that. It definitely does drop off quite a bit for the control box, or sometimes we call it bats and bricks, or lots of different names for the deck you can come up with. But it does take quite a hit. Terapagos doesn't have an ability. Dragapult gets a lot better, and that's a terrible matchup for you. It doesn't have an ability. It's a stage 2. Dusknoir deck's getting more prevalent. That's an issue for the deck. Palkia is an issue for the deck. Another strong V attacker without an ability. Um, it does gain some cool new cards. The Sparkling Crystal allows you to hit with the Ogre Pawn with only a DTE, so that has some really cool potential with penny looping with only one attachment. Seems super strong. Um, but there's a lot of hate coming for the deck in the next
Right.
format, I would say. So maybe put it in the binder for now. Maybe towards the end of the format, it has a place, but
Yeah.
we'll have to see about that.
Especially once the meta develops and we start to
Mhm.
understand what's going to be there a little bit. But yeah,
Yeah.
thanks so much, Nolan, for kind of joining us on this podcast and talking about this deck. I really enjoyed having you on. I want to give you an opportunity to any shout outs to your team, sponsors, your Twitter, coaching, anything you want to shout out before we go?
Yeah, I just big shout out to everyone on the team that helped and was there in the tournament. All of everyone supporting. There's too many people to list off exactly, but especially Cyrus Davis for all the support and helping keep the team together. And I wasn't able to make it out to the event, but still was definitely one of the top supporters of the group. You can find me on Twitter. I think it's Randall underscore Knowles 19,
Yep.
or look up Nolan Randall and
Yep.
hopefully you find me. Yeah, I think that's about it in terms of shout outs for me.
Well, thanks so much, Nolan. We appreciate coming on the podcast. And next up, we've got an interview with Henry Chow. So stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back to the Beach Court Podcast. I'm so excited to have a couple of new faces here joining us. First off, we got Andrew Wheeler sitting in for Maddox and Parker. They were not able to join tonight. Andrew, how's your day been? Are you excited to be on the podcast?
It's pretty good. It's Friday when we're recording here, so looking forward to the weekend. Maybe doing some cups, maybe going on random adventures. No idea, but glad to be here. Thanks for putting me on.
Yeah, no problem. Hope to see you tomorrow at the Cup. And if you guys haven't noticed by now, we have Henry Chow, the guy that just won Baltimore, top 8 at NAIC, has been on the absolute tear. Henry, I'm so honored to have you here. How's your week been? Coming back to home, you're getting a lot of support there. You're getting a lot of messages. What's your week been like?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Not a too crazy week, honestly. I'm really happy it's the weekend now. It's on Friday, as you said. I was sort of behind on some of my work this week, so had to catch up on that. I haven't really got too much of a chance to celebrate or anything. But yeah, I mean, Kentucky's already getting kind of close, so I got to start thinking about that one too. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, at least we have Dortmund next week to watch a little bit.
Yeah. I'm probably not going to do too much until I can see the results from that, because literally people are playing like everything right now.
Literally everything, yeah. But yeah, let's just jump into it, Henry. So let's, as we always do, we like to get to know our guest. So Henry, I've got some get to know you questions. And Andrew, feel free to pop in whenever you seem fit. So first question, Henry, how long have you been playing Pokemon?
Yeah, so people probably know this if they watch the stream. I used to play a very long time ago. I think my first tournament was probably in like 2008 is my guess. Then I played until around 2013, the sort of the first Darkrai format. And then after that, I was like a junior, senior during this time, and a lot of my friends fell out of it. So then I kind of fell out of it. But then like pretty much a year ago, I saw NAIC 2023, the one that Cyrus Davis beat Ian Robat.
Yeah.
I was watching that. Ian is someone I used to play with a lot as a kid. We were both in juniors in the Mass area, in the New England area back in the day. And just seeing that was really cool. And then at the same time, they were relaunching the online client they switched from like PTCGO to PTCGL, and they had like this beta, and like you could get like every card you wanted, which I thought was like really cool. I mean, I know there's a lot of complaints about PTCGL otherwise, but the fact that I could get like all these cards and just start playing like really got me back into the game. So I was just playing online, and then eventually I went to a couple locals, and then my first regionals was Charlotte, and then ever since then I've been going to a handful of majors.
And you've just been tearing it up. Welcome back.
That's a good way. That's a good time to come back. You start, you get into the college age, and then you start going, and then, you just start winning all the time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like undergrad, I was really busy, and I mean, still in grad school, I'm super busy. But just I don't know. It just since like having my own funding and stuff, it's like easier to justify being able to actually go to these events as opposed to like being an undergrad and still dependent on other people.
Yeah, that's completely fair. It's really interesting. I'm sure Pokemon will be happy to hear that someone likes PTCGL. So
well, yeah, I mean, I'm always on Twitter defending it. I mean, not necessarily the client itself, but in terms of like playing on the ladder and stuff, I'm a huge fan of that.
Accessibility, it's important.
Yeah, I mean that I would never have come back if it wasn't for it. So like I genuinely mean that, like the accessibility is what brought me back, and it just the fact that you can get so much good practice without knowing like a top testing group is
or just having like someone to play with at all times, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's jump to the next question. Favorite Pokemon?
I like Psyduck. I'm a pretty big fan of Psyduck.
Is it because of Misty, or is it because you like Psyduck?
It's because he has chronic migraines.
Luckily not that one. I don't really know the reason why, honestly. I mean, I really like aquatic life, like in real life, and I don't know, Psyduck is it's just perfect design. It's peak design.
Oh, you probably have taken all of your Worlds promos and framed them all, because Psyduck's on all of them, right?
If I'm being honest, I actually never even opened my World's competitor kit. I was too disappointed with my performance. I didn't let myself open it. So it's just sitting in a backpack somewhere in my room.
Well, I think you should open it because it has the Psyduck promo in there, and if
Yeah,
you like
that's fair.
Psyduck,
That's
there's no
fair.
reason you shouldn't. Okay, so that's your favorite Pokemon, Psyduck. You mentioned you kind of played up until 2013, and then you've been playing for the last year. But what's your favorite TCG deck you've ever played?
Oof. That's a tough one because like I definitely knew my answer back in the day, but I mean Gardevoir is definitely probably surpassing it at this point, if I'm being honest. Um, but oh man, back in the day, I really liked. I don't know how long you guys have been playing, but Chandelier Vileplume. It was at like a city championship format in I think 2011. That deck was super duper fun. I really enjoyed playing that deck. It was in a deck that like it didn't attack pretty much. It just used Tropical Beach, and you kept switching between these Chandeliers that like place 3 however you want. And a funny story, that's actually like sort of the inspiration for why I like played that double monkey Gardevoir builds at NAIC, because I'm like, dude, effects like this are like literally broken. So yeah, that's that old school knowledge coming in, I guess. Besides that, I really liked. I mean, SP format was a lot of fun. I love playing Lux Chomp, Lux Ape, if you guys are familiar with that one. And then yeah, that's about it. Because then after that, it was Darkrai format, and we don't talk about Darkrai format.
Nah, Darkrai format was terrible.
Well, you kind of already hit another topic I want to cover with you as well. What's your favorite non-standard format?
2010, yeah, without a doubt, 2010. I'm sort of biased because that's like when I was playing. But yeah, I have a bunch of 2010 retro decks. I play them with my brother when he's around. Yeah, like that was sort of thing that like kept me like kind of in the game. We always had these 2010 decks still built, and then even when like during like the 10 years I was not playing competitively, whenever I saw my brother, we would always like just kind of play around with like Gardevoir, Lux Chomp, there's Steelix deck, Donphan deck. I mean that meta just had so many decks. It's like 10 plus that we have. So
Wow.
That's
one
so
of the best metas
relatable.
for sure.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's
I-
current format, right? It's where we are
As
now.
Well,
some
yeah, current format kind of, but then like the decks were very like they actually had like different purposes, whereas like Miraidon, Raging Bolt, Moon, we could kind of all lump that into one archetype.
True.
But no, the format is really good right now. I actually do like it quite a bit.
Yeah. I was gonna say, have you ever played Epic Splash?
No, I'm not familiar.
Well, that's why it's not your favorite format because you haven't played it. You got to jump into it. It's just all about like coin flipping, having fun, turning off your brain.
Okay, yeah.
So definitely look into it and have some fun.
Always down to do a little gambling, sure.
Yeah. Oh, there's literally gamblers in the decks. Like the card where you flip a coin, if heads get 8, if tails
Oh,
get 1.
yeah, I've heard of that one. Yeah, okay. That card, that's an old one. Oh man.
Yeah.
yeah,
So when did you realize that like trading card games were gonna be like something you wanted to play competitively? Like, was it just because of TCGL that you realized it, or did you know like at a younger age you would eventually come back to this?
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, my brother pretty much got into it. I have a brother who's 5 years older than me, Kevin. He used to play as well, but he didn't come back because he lives overseas now. But yeah, so that sort of got me into it, and he was also sort of the person to get us into the playing at events, playing at tournaments. Yeah, and like that, we sort of had like success in our like local scene and like juniors and seniors, and then we managed to go to a nationals back in the day at some point, and then I think the next year we had like qualified for worlds. So yeah, I mean, I was so young, so it's hard to really say that like I even like really made any decision to do it. I was just playing and having fun, and then it kind of just went on from there. In terms of when I came back, like yeah, I was playing on PTCGL, and I didn't like know if I wanted or like thought it was like worthwhile to go to a regionals or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, as I was saying before, I was like playing ladder and like winning so much. I was like, surely if I'm winning this much on ladder, like I can like do something at a regionals. So yeah, I went to Charlotte, and that was sort of high stakes for me because I didn't actually like win any money or anything like that. But I was like, if I like do good at this one, then I can like justify going to more events. And I got top 64 at that one. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we'll try a little more. Let's see if we can win money at the next couple events. And then I did better at Indy.
Sick. Yeah, Andrew, you want to kick us off in the next section?
yeah. So, you are a little bit known for playing Gardevoir. So what brings you back to Gardevoir every time? What's the appeal? What's the draw? It doesn't seem to matter what the format looks like. If it's good, if it doesn't seem good, what's the methodology? What's going through your brain?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, essentially the thought process is I'm gonna try Gardevoir when like a new format hits. If it's good, I'll keep playing it. If it's bad, I'll figure something else out. But I mean, every time I try it, like it's still good. So, like, I sort of started during the Paradox format, and obviously Gardevoir. I'm pretty much by the end of the Paradox format, everyone sort of realized Gardevoir was the best deck.
Right.
Though it took people a really long time to figure that out, which is a little bit surprising. Um, And then when rotation happened and Temporal was released, people were like really down on Gardevoir. But I was like, I'm just gonna keep playing it. The list sort of developed fast. People figured out some really smart stuff, like playing the 3 counter catchers with the Mimikyu to beat Charizard. So then I was playing it and, it still felt really good. So I'm like, okay, no, I mean, I'll ride with this for a little bit. I mean, I think it was like the best deck during that format, but that's like probably objectively false. Like people don't really, it never like won any events or anything, and it was at like 5%, but that deck felt so broken. But then when the NAIC format rolled around with all those ace specs, Gardevoir was just like insane. Like I played it. I had thought of this double monkey stuff when I was like, I don't even know. It's just when I like read the card, I was like trying it. And then like the moment the set dropped on live, which took way too long, by the way, there was like so many bugs to get it on live. I remember being really
Shocker.
frustrated by that. Yeah. No, that one they don't get credit for, that's for sure. But then I was playing it and like, yeah, it was just like insane. Like just winning like every single game. You felt like so in control of just I think I said this on like the interview at NAIC. It's like anytime you got Curly as up turn 2, you just felt like you were just purely winning.
The deck's just broken. It doesn't matter what the format is.
Yeah, exactly. And then like the world format rolled around, and then like, yeah, it was like pretty bad. So then I was like almost gonna play Golden Go, and then I rolled with like the standard God of War deck of worlds and did not do very well.
Wait, hold on. We gotta roll that back.
Yeah.
You were almost gonna play Golden Go to Worlds?
Yeah. No, I don't know if you guys know my friend Aban. He did really well with Golden Go at Worlds. He started day 1 7-1, but then he hit some unfortunate matchups. And there was like the Kawasaki's were on Golden Go who all made day 2. Like it was actually a legitimately really good deck for Worlds.
Yeah.
I know it's like kind of a meme, but essentially like
I don't think it's a meme. It's just a good deck. Well, like our testing has always proven that like it's a very, very good deck once it sets up. And like
yeah.
consistency in setting up is the problem of the deck.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's all about whether you get the turn to attack off, right? So it's like the way I thought about it is like Golden Go always had like 2 like huge fundamental weaknesses, which is if you missed the turn to attack, like you were kind of screwed. Sorry, and if and like hand disruption was really bad. But when they printed Pheasantipity, the hand disruption problem was completely removed. You would never miss if you ever hit on turn 2. So then it just came down to that. When like that part still felt bad, but just the fact that you were taking a lot of like really good matchups made it so that I was like willing to play it, but I like ultimately I didn't play it because I didn't really want to gamble my world's chance away because you didn't really have too much control of your games playing that deck. But I probably should have because I didn't do so good with Gardevoir Worlds. And then after Worlds, I like went back to the drawing board, was thinking for a bit, and then I had this idea and I tried it and I was like, okay, yeah, I mean this deck is really broken, and I know we're gonna talk about the list later, of course, but yeah, I mean this deck was like. The deck that I just ran was like crazy broken. Like I can't really even take that much credit for the gameplay because like the deck was just so strong.
Got a question about the deck. Typically, whenever deck building, people have that 61 card that they really want in the deck. Did you feel like this was the perfect 60, or was there anything that you thought about that you really wanted in the deck before you got to Baltimore?
Yeah, I mean, I actually did change my list down around a little bit, like in the days before the event, which I don't normally do. I do think the list I played was pretty optimal. Like, there's nothing I really wanted elsewhere. The one change I made in the days before Baltimore was I switched the second Klefki out for the second research. I do think the second Klefki is pretty good. The deck doesn't actually play that many basic Pokemon. It's only 10 basic Pokemon, so you mulligan quite a bit. So, because like I cut like the Fluttermane and the Cresselia and the second Monkey Dory. So shoving that second Klefki into the deck was actually like a ton of value. But at the end of the day, like I couldn't really justify playing it over a second research or any of the other cards. But yeah, I mean, if I had a 61st card, it probably would be the second Klefki, but it's nothing essential to the deck function. So it was super cuttable to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting to kind of hear from you there. I know our friend Abby, she's gonna love to hear that you wanted to play Goldango. It's like her favorite deck. She's just loves it so much. But Gardevoir you've seen so much success, and I wanna touch base on something while we're still on deck choice. You said that you were gonna play Goldango, but you went with Gardevoir anyways, and it didn't really go well at Worlds, right? I don't think you made day 2.
Oh yeah, I went 1-3 drop.
So I don't see your list anywhere, right? So we're gonna start to transition towards list questions, but like, how much work did you have to do to like evaluate your list from Worlds and the meta? And because the meta really didn't change between Worlds and Baltimore too much, right? Still Shredded Fable format, right? When someone usually has that kind of bad tournament, right? They immediately say, okay, that deck sucks. Like that's not the play anymore. I got to move on, right? But you didn't. So let's talk about your process on how you landed on Gardevoir. and how much work you had to put in to kind of say, I'm still sticking to my guns and I'm going to make some changes, and we'll talk about the changes in a few minutes.
Yeah. It's like a weird situation because I would almost consider the deck I played for the past tournament in Baltimore like not Gardevoir. Like it's just so wildly different from the other stuff that it almost felt like a brand new deck. I mean, obviously it's not. Like you still have Refinement, you still have Curlia, you still have Drifloon and stuff like that. But in my mind, I essentially just it felt like I was playing a new deck when I was like first learning it. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't think my Gardevoir list was very bad. It's just like, yeah, the problem is just the Regidrago matchup was just so unbelievably terrible. Playing like these normal Gardevoir decks. So essentially, my thought process is just like I'm gonna do whatever I can to fix the Regidrago matchup, and then as long as I'm still beating the other decks because Gardevoir has like good matchups into the other decks, then I can ride with it. And if I can manage to do that, I'm gonna play Gardevoir. And if I can't figure out how to do that in time, then I'll try something else. Maybe Golden Go, maybe Pidgeot, maybe something completely new. But yeah, it was pretty clear to me in the first couple bits of me playing this deck that the Regidrago matchup was pretty good. So I was pretty locked in on it for like 3 weeks until the event. It didn't take me too long.
Yeah, that's wild. So let's jump into the list, right? Some big changes. The biggest is the pink card that no one would ever see coming in Gardevoir. Tell us how you landed on Secret Box and what was your opponent's reaction round one when you played it.
Oh goodness, yeah, I wasn't documenting my opponent's reactions, but I know some of them were very surprised. I know Rowan was pretty surprised when I dropped it. I thought he would have already heard about it by then, but luckily I managed to dodge the stream during the Swiss rounds. Yeah, in terms of the secret box, I got to give all the credit to Liam Halliburton and Aban. So they weren't playing Gardevoir, they were playing a Pidgeot deck, a really really strong Pidgeot deck actually. But they had figured out that the secret box card was just like absolutely bananas. I mean, this card is just absolutely insane. It pretty much just reads like do whatever you want this turn. Like
Right.
like no exaggeration. Like the turn you drop it, you just have the absolute perfect turn. Especially like if you're starting with it or getting on turn two, like it's ridiculous. But even later in the game, like in matchups where your curlers are getting targeted down, it's really important to have that extra out in deck that just lets you do whatever you want. I mean, Pokemon these days doesn't last more than 4 or 5 turns, and having a card that lets you read do whatever you want this turn, it's just giving you a massive, massive boost to your win percentage. So yeah, when I was first like testing this concept, I was on the Hero's Cape, and I don't think the Hero's Cape is too bad. I know actually someone else made the day 2 with Hero's Cape Gardevoir, which was really cool. I think his name was Ari. Shout out to him. I mean, his list was like not like an aggressive list. But it was a really interesting list. It had like 3 Monkey Dories. But yeah, no. Yeah, he was on stream I think for round 9. It's crazy list. It's a crazy list. I prefer mine, but I gotta shout him out for just coming up with cool sauce. Yeah, no. So then it's like if I know I'm playing the secret box, then I'm gonna also want to put in more of these aggressive cards. I mean, I had already sort of had these aggressive cards, but I was like in between 1 and 2 rare candies. But then like the moment I'm putting the secret box in, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I'm gonna go on 2 rare candies just to have the opportunity to get like these really really aggressive starts going.
Yeah. Yeah, and just kind of like same question for the candies, right? Like the format being so fast, I just kind of pushed you towards like, hey, candies is how I solve the Drago matchup, and I beat some of these like really fast decks that like I can't keep up with sometimes. Is that what kind of like forced you to like bring candies back into Gardevoir?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it really was like when I first thought of the candy idea, it was just all about the Drago matchup. So essentially, like, yeah, I mean, it's hard to like talk about the changes one by one because essentially the deck all fits together as like one like aggressive archetype. So the idea first was to cut the mana fee and to go with the Bravery Charms in order to block off their Kyurem play. It's funny because people actually did end up cutting the Cologne, but the issue before was that like you could get the mana fee down, but if they had saved their V-Star, they would just have a path to a 3-price turn, and like the mana fee itself would be a liability because it would be something within the Kyurem range. But the idea being like, okay, if I could just charm everything out of range and just say that like, okay, if you pop Kyurem, you're not getting more than 2 prizes, you're probably just getting 1, then there's no point in playing the mana fee at all. But then the issue is if you're charming your Ralts, and it gets hit by Kyurem or like some extra splash damage, you can't actually evolve it into Curlia,
right?
Because it gets knocked out.
Right.
So then it's like, okay, you need this can. This is exactly what happened in my top 8 set. So you need the candy to get it out of there, and then also, of course, like you want to get the fact that you can threaten getting the candy early really allows you to get your board out of that Kyurem range a lot earlier. So it's about protecting from Kyurem early and also recovering from Kyurems later, maybe. And then also like I mean, I wasn't really thinking about the Lugia matchup that much going into this tournament. I ended up hitting 5.
Yeah, I saw you hit
kind
like
of
3 in the
insane.
last 4 rounds.
But yeah, the candy's really good against Lugia as well. I mean, I kind of high rolled Kieran in the finals by getting them out so quickly, of course. But yeah, I mean, I got them out going first, which is a little unreasonable. If you go second and candy it out, that's a little more reasonable. So they
Right.
essentially function as like Evos, but yeah, like
Sure.
Evos that can work going second and going first. Obviously,
Sure.
they're not quite as strong as the Evos going second, but
Yeah.
I'm looking at your list right here, and I'm seeing this Pokemon League headquarters. How many checkmates did you manage to get with that?
ooh, yeah, it did win me. It won me 2 rounds by itself, essentially. So yeah, so it's only really that important in 2 matchups, Miraidon and Ancient Box, and those are the exact matchups that came up for me at the event. So in round 2 against Miraidon, I was like down 6-2. Like he turn 1 hands me, and then I couldn't get the candy response, and he did it again. And so then it gets like these really awkward situations where you have to like bring something up, trap it, and then stick your EX in the active and say like, okay, you need to find both switch card and boss to get me. But then like I don't know, the game was like really weird, and I didn't like, even though I managed to stall him a little bit, I couldn't actually finish off his Iron Hands. So then I couldn't block him with my EX anymore. So I had to stick the headquarters down to stop him from killing me with hands. And then he actually like he had every other piece in his hand except the 5th energy he needed to use Ampy very much. So he ended up having to like arm press my Monkey Dory. So I was like, oh my god, like I did not expect the headquarters to just directly save me in a game. And then funnily enough, in round 12, I hit Ancient Box, and the card is like really, really good against Ancient Box. But essentially he had a checkmate against me where he had like shoveled all energies back into his deck, and then he had like I counter catched up with Pheasantipity, and he had a Moon with 2 energies on the bench. And then I Iono him to 1, and he's like thinking, okay, I can just attach retreat and send up my Moon and win the game. But then I dropped the headquarters on the turn I Iono'd him. So then all of a sudden he needs 2 energy, which wasn't really possible for him. The funny thing about that game though is I actually mulliganed my headquarters, but he just didn't notice. If he knew I had mulliganed my headquarters, he could have like shoveled in the Petra and won the game. But you
Wow.
know, we'll take it either way.
Wow. Yeah. That's how it goes sometimes. That's what's great
Yeah.
about, closed lists.
Yeah.
Write down those
I was
mulligan
pissed
cards.
to mulligan. Yeah, I was pissed to mulligan it. But luckily he just kind of gave me the quick thumbs up, and I was like, okay, maybe he didn't actually notice it. And then yeah, I had to use it later in the game.
Look at your opponent's mulligans, people.
You're allowed to take notes. Do it. Like, come on, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think I indirectly benefited from like Poke data, like posting my list during the or not my list, posting my deck during the tournament. Like it had like the Gardevoir and the Monkey Dory next to it. And I think when people played against me, it's like he's just on Gardevoir. Like showed he's mulligan. I already knew he was on Gardevoir. Whatever, you can go down your hand.
Sure. Yeah. So last list question for you. It's gotta be about Monkey Dory, right? Broken card. You said that. Usually these lists like aggressively want 2 Monkey Dories and 3 darks, or 2 Monkey Dories and 2 darks, right? They want to set up their Monkey Dories, right? That's what a lot of people want to do. It allows you to hit 220 with Gardevoir Ex. There's a lot of good reasons why you want it, right? You dropped from 2 down to 1. How'd you come to that conclusion? And was it just because you needed space in the deck? Like what was the reason for that, choice?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I obviously a second Monkey Dory would be great. But yeah, I can't really justify. I mean, it's just like I'm changing the whole concept of the deck. It's funny because like at NAIC, like I think I was sort of known for like I had played the 2 Monkey Dories, the 3 darks, and cut the Drifloon completely. And I was like, I'm gonna play with like a spread strategy, and I don't really care about one-shotting stuff. But in this format, it's like I knew that my entire like threat had to just be one-shotting everything. Like I had to be able to, because like the really good thing about this deck, especially with like the 3 Vessel, it's like the moment you get your Gardevoir EX up and the 5 Psychic in the discard, like hitting the Drifloon is insanely easy. Like it's literally just an Arvent for Poffin
Yeah.
plus Charm, or like
Yeah.
a lot of times you're just raw drawing it, especially with a 3 Charm. So I was just like, okay, like we're just gonna make this deck into like a super duper consistent 1 prize 1-shot deck. And if I'm gonna do that, I'm not like trying to accumulate damage on their board with like Flutter Mane or anything like that. Like I don't even play the Flutter Mane. So the second Monkey Dory doesn't have that much value. Like it only
Sure.
has value against like the single prize decks where you can kind of cheat an extra prize card by just Monkey Dorying something on the side. And like, that's true. It's good against Charizard for sure. But against Ancient Box, you don't need it. The matchup was already really good. So I just didn't really see the value in it. You just wanted the 1 to hit the 330 against Charizard, and also to play around the Pheasantipity, like hit 190 into Pheasantipity and then finish it the next turn. Yeah, that definitely came up a couple times. So it's like
Okay.
the 1 by itself gives you enough pressure to be able to like pick and choose when you get knockouts, which in these days is like a really, really good thing to have. But you don't need the two to just like control their board anymore because everything has like 200 HP. It just doesn't work.
Sure.
But next format, it'll probably be might be going back to some Monkey Dory control gaming.
You let us right into it. Andrew, take us away.
Yeah. So speaking of Louisville coming up here in a couple weeks, are we playing slow Gardevoir or are we playing fast Gardevoir?
Yeah. A lot of people have asked me this question. I think so I'll totally preface this by saying I have not played a single game of the new format yet. I'll probably will really start my preparation after Dortmund, maybe a little bit next week. But yeah, I can't imagine fast Gardevoir being very good next format. So one of the most obvious issues to me is like my deck had a terrible mirror matchup. Like I knew it was fine because Gardevoir was only at 3%, but I know very well from any IC that when you have two Monkey Dory versus one Monkey Dory, the game is like impossible to play from the one Monkey Dory side. Like one person is just taking an extra prize like every other turn. Even beyond that, like with the Briar card in Charizard, you have pretty much no counterplay if you're playing my deck. Okay, I don't want to get on a rant here, but I have seen people like saying that my deck from Baltimore has like a terrible Charizard matchup. That is definitely not true. But with the Briar, it's probably not very good. Yeah, so those are like the main things. Oh, also you have like a worse Dragapult matchup, whereas like if you're playing the double monkey
Right.
and the Devo
Right.
and at the Cresselia, you have like a 100-0 Dragapult matchup. It's like completely unlosable. So yeah, like just based on those principles, I can't really imagine playing this fast Gardevoir deck. And then people ask like, oh, should I keep the research or the candy or the secret box? And it's like, I pretty much think of it all as like a package. Like if you're not
Right.
playing one of them, like you might as well not play any of them. Like you're just going for like a slow. I mean, probably an aroma build is like what I would try out first, just because that's that's my favorite sort of way to play the Gardevoir deck.
Mhm.
But I could see a stamp build working as well. It really depends how the meta settles. But if I had to guess right now, yeah, I think we're probably going to be going with the slower approach.
Yeah, you mentioned Aroma. We got some new A-specs come out, kind of broken cards, right? You got the Sparkling, you got other things that are out, but you also got the Grand Tree. The Grand Tree does just give you a Gardevoir EX whenever you want it.
Yeah.
Are you ever playing Grand Tree in Gardevoir?
I mean, you
That
probably you
body
don't.
reaction.
Yeah, like
That-
you
yeah,
don't
that
have
was
any way to.
visceral.
You don't have any way to search it out, so I can't really imagine it's very
You play
good.
Color's Tenacity, duh.
Well, if other people are doing that, I might have to put a Kyurem in my deck. But
Hey,
yeah,
ultimate
I don't
tech.
know. It doesn't sound. It's interesting. It's the kind of card that like when I first read it printed, I was like, this card seems really good in general, and I could definitely see it being in Gardevoir. But the more I think about it, like I definitely don't think it can be played in Gardevoir, and honestly, I'm not sure if it's really very good in any deck. I mean, it seems abusable. Like there might be something that can abuse it, but nothing comes to mind immediately. The new Gemstone card seems pretty good though. The one that like increases your opponent's retreat.
I was
I'm
just
a
gonna
fan of that one.
that's one I added Andrew as I was like we were talking here. Like the Gemstone plus Screamtail seems really good.
Yeah. People were already starting to do this Calamitous Wasteland thing. It was like on some online tournament, and then I know a couple people played it for Baltimore. That seemed pretty good to me. I know it didn't fit in my deck, but if I were playing like a slower Gardevoir deck, I would have considered that. So yeah, I think people already sort of figured out that like these additional trapping options give you a lot more comeback potential.
Yeah.
Like it makes your Iono plus counter catcher way more likely to stick.
Right.
Because sometimes you go for that play, but you don't really expect them to miss because like they have like a Mew EX on their bench or like a Fezandipity, and it's like okay, like I'm probably not actually getting there with this play. But if you're like bumping up their the Radiant Greninja's retreat cost from 1 to 2, then all of a sudden, you might like your odds a lot more. So that card I could definitely, I'm looking out for that card. I'll probably be trying it. I'm not sure if it'll make the cut, but I'd be doing myself a disservice not to at least try it.
Yeah. You heard it here first, guys. Duststone and Gardevoir.
Yeah, probably not first. I think other people came up with it first. I think Japan had it, so I can't take credit for that one.
It's the first one on YouTube. It's fine. It's
Yeah,
your
that's
thought.
fair. You are now, whether you like it or not, you are now the Gardevoir expert until somebody else dethrones you. So that's just kind of how this goes, Henry, whether you like it or not.
Sure, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Andrew, take the last question from that.
So we're talking about trapping stuff. There's this deck called Snorlax. It's probably going to get a little bit better. How are we feeling about it in the Gardevoir matchup going into new format?
Oh yeah, actually, I am glad you asked this. So I think people were sort of wondering how I beat Snorlax with my deck at Baltimore, and I'm not sure people know about like the tech you're supposed to do. So well, before the key is in the 3 bravery charms. Before I had the 3 bravery charms, I was just like trying to run Spiritomb and cheese them. But with the 3 bravery charms, what you can do is you can actually load 4 energy onto a Ralts with bravery charm on it and then evolve it and knock it out. And that gives you like a huge advantage in the matchup. It's how I won both my sets against Snorlax. Or I won one and tied one. But any game I won, it was because I did that. So essentially you can force them to take 2 free prizes, start the game out with counter catcher while you're still preserving both your boss and Turo, and then you also are getting to Iono them to 4. So it gives you a huge advantage in the matchup. Because people sort of figured out that this whole strategy of like filling your bench with Ralts and then having an EX and a Klefki, it doesn't really work because of the handheld fan. Especially because like these lax guys were like playing 3 handheld fans at one point, so they really didn't like us. So you got to
They
figure
still
out a
are
new way to
playing
beat it.
3. Yeah, they still are
Yeah,
playing 3.
yeah, okay, yeah. We'll see where that number settles. So that's a huge advantage of the Bravery Charm builds. With the general Gardevoir build, your Lax matchup, like if you're only playing 1 charm, the Lax matchup is heavily unfavored. I would recommend playing a Spiritomb. That's pretty much all I can. The Spiritomb wins the matchup like 100%.
Right.
Without Spiritomb, it's extremely difficult. You don't really have the juice. You just kind of have to run them out of counter catcher. So the strategy, so like the other thing is like, my strategy over the weekend was to just discard everything. Like as I mentioned, like I wasn't filling my board at all. If they fluted out a Ralts, I didn't care because I was just gonna kill it. So I just went into my deck and tried to get my Monkey Dory, my Pheasantipede, and my Radiant Greninja as soon as possible and just discard them. And if you do that, then like you're fine. They have nothing else they can hit. So you just sit up with Klefki in the active, a Curly on the bench, try to cycle through your deck, hope they miss like 1 or 2 flutes, or they can get one thing, it's fine. But as long as they don't get like extremely lucky flutes, you're like chilling.
They gotta hit both, right? They gotta hit Fez and Greninja to have a bad time.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, like if you can access your pal pad before they can get it, you can still win from that spot. So yeah, that matchup was definitely not bad at all.
Okay.
So if you
Yeah,
have the
because you hit
charms,
2,
they're good.
right? This weekend? You ID'd with
Yeah.
1, and you beat another, right?
Yeah, I didn't ID. Well, I kind of ID'd the last one. I hit Hassan day 1, my friend, who I was actually staying with him, and he was actually playing Snorlax with the Ursaluna in it,
That's
which
funny.
is brilliant, by the way. That deck is really, really good. Definitely, if like it was definitely correct to play the Ursaluna Jet and Snorlax this weekend. It like totally solved some of the matchups, or not necessarily solved, but it gave you a fighting chance against matchups you had no hope against
Like the
otherwise.
Petrants and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, the Petrants and the Lugias. Like with the Ursaluna, you have a chance. Yeah, so I hit him, and then that one's a little weirder because I couldn't like suicide all my Raltses, because then he could actually threaten to kill my EX with the Gardevoir, with the Ursaluna. So I had to keep like 1 extra curly around it. So it was like a really awkward game. I think still a lot to learn about that matchup, and I'm probably never gonna play that one again with the Ursaluna in it.
Hopefully, right?
Yeah. And then around in the last round, not round 15 anymore, round 13. Yeah, I got him game 1 with the charms and stuff. And then he got me game 2 with the neutralization zone. And then yeah, we didn't really have enough time, and then I took the tie with like the last 5 minutes left.
Got you with the neutralization zone, huh?
Yeah, no, it was totally my fault. Like I didn't see an ace spec from him in either of the games, or like in game 1, and then like halfway through game 2, and then like just threw my headquarters away, not really thinking much of it. And then he drops the neutralization zone, and then I have like both my Fez and my Guardian play, and all of a sudden I have 2 liabilities, and I just can't win the game. So
yeah,
that was a big mistake on my part, and that was pretty cool for my opponent because I did not expect that. So shout out to Max Johnson. That was a nice play.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're gonna start to get towards the closing segments here, Henry. But I want to give you an opportunity. Was there anything we didn't ask about, like the tournament or the list, or anything you wanted to kind of call out and let people know about?
That's a great question. I guess one of the main things is the Charizard matchup is fine. So I guess I'll just go over the Charizard matchup for a second because this was triggering me just a little bit, not too
Just a
much.
little bit, yeah.
I love
But
the
essentially
passion.
like if they take the first prize, like your deck is super consistent. So you essentially just go Iono counter catcher and you nuke their Pidgeot every single time. And if you do that, like, well, I guess you can kind of break it down here. If they play the vacuum, they still have a chance, but they have to draw really well. If they don't play the vacuum, then you're just generally winning on the prize trade. And then this is not to mention like the other situations where you just take the first prize and then you're pacing super duper well and you're just gonna win the game anyway. It also sort of depends on the list knowledge they have because a lot of the Charizard players, like, they're not going to go in for the turn 2 attack against Gardevoir because they would just lose on the spot to Devo, especially if you play 2 Devo, but even with 1 Devo, they're really risking it there. So if you assume that they don't know your list, they're going to be playing a little bit passively, and they're going to actually let you take the first move. Because normally you taking the first move is good for them. But with our list, we can actually keep the pressure up because, if we take the first prize, then we can drop the Fez down and really get it going. And all of a sudden, we're limiting a lot of their win conditions. So yeah, no, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I was more happy to hit like the bolts and moons that I hit rather than the Charizard deck, but I wasn't scared of my opponent flipping over a Charmander like at all.
Yeah. Good to call out.
Charmander's got nothing on you, man.
Mhm.
He was ready for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the next question, Andrew.
Sure. So with all your recent success, people want to know, what's your preparation style? What are you doing before events? How long are you preparing for events? What's your, say, like start time versus when you're actually there? What's that look like?
Yeah, I've sort of been talking about this recently on Twitter, so a lot of people have probably seen this already. But yeah, I play a lot on the BTCG ladder, like a lot on the ladder. I used to play more, honestly. I haven't, haven't been able to play as much recently. But yeah, before this tournament, I played around 150 games in the 2 to 3 weeks before the event, which honestly, like thinking about it, it's not a ton. Probably average between an hour and two of ladder. Track everything in a spreadsheet, just like all my matchups and stuff. I think it's the best way to like benchmark your progress as a player and like how good you think your deck is because when you play on the ladder, it's like you're drawing from the same distribution every time you play the ladder. So the win rates track like even format to format. Like I can say like okay, like before NAIC I was having like a 78% win rate on ladder and I was like okay, like I know this deck is like broken. And then before this event I've been going with like a 73% win rate. So yeah, since they don't have like a real ranking system, so it's hard to actually tell like who is the best player on ladder because the points are just plus 10 minus 10. If you have a 60% win rate and you play enough, you're going to be like 5,000 points. So yeah, it's something I'd recommend like other people do. And like I am actually curious if other people track their win rates, like how they're doing. Seeing like who has the best win rate would be really interesting to me. Besides that, I play with my friends sometimes. Like testing is always good, of course. I was playing with Liam and Aban a lot, but they were on this Pidgeot control deck, and they were just destroying me every time because my matchup into that was not very good. So that's why I had to default to the ladder a little bit more. And yeah, one of the other huge advantages of the ladder is that it's like, it's closed deck list, right? You don't know what your opponent's playing, so it really simulates a tournament
True.
game.
True.
And yeah, I mean, from my experience, like I think the ladder games are like just as hard, if not just as hard, if not harder than most tournament games, like throughout all of day one. Like, if I hit like a big name player in day two, like yeah, they're better than the average ladder player. But these ladder players are really good. Like if you can have success on the ladder, like it will translate to in person. So yeah, I mean, if you're trying to improve, just hit the ladder. Like, that's the way.
So you mentioned something early on, and that's a spreadsheet. Okay. I love the data, I love the science. How much are you tracking? Are you taking the entire logs of every game, and are you like
No.
micro analyzing, or are you
No,
just taking
no.
like win rates?
Yeah, no. I literally, I wish I could show it on screen right now, but yeah, it's literally just matchup. Did I go first? Win or lose? I'm not doing anything
Okay.
super crazy. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with analyzing the games deeper, and if you want to record yourself, I think that's a great thing to do too. But yeah, I'm looking. It's because like my big purpose is just to look for like the data and like see like what my weaknesses are in terms of matchups, and see if I need to tweak the list from that. But yeah, I mean, if you're trying to improve, then definitely like taking notes on your gameplay and like what went wrong. That can't be a bad thing, right?
Yeah, never is. Do you recommend ladder versus like limitless tournaments? And
Oh yeah.
is that
Yeah,
because of time into effort, or what is the reason behind that?
So it's multiple things. Yeah, one of you can play way more ladder games than like the limitless tournaments have too much downtime. But also, I mean this respectfully, but like every time I see these limitless tournaments, like the quality of gameplay is very low compared to the ladder. Like I feel like, dude, like I tweeted this actually a little bit earlier. Like there was stats for Gardevoir's win rate in limitless tournaments. And it
True.
was literally like the exact opposite of what it was supposed to be. It was like Miraidon and Reggie Drago were your best matchups, and then you had like a 40% win rate into Raging Bolts, and you were losing to Moon Moon. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. So it's not even like there's noise. It's like, people are making like such fundamental mistakes that it's just bad practice. Like you're
Right.
gonna get the wrong impression of your matchups. If you go to a tournament, you're playing Raging Bolt, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm winning 70% of times against Gardevoir in these online tournaments, so I can't wait to hit these Gardevoirs, at Baltimore. Like, no, that's just doing a disservice to yourself. Like you're gonna get a rude awakening at the absolute worst time.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean the fundamental issue with these limitless tournaments is that there's no matchmaking. Like you're just hitting anyone in the pool round one, and then like yeah, you're gonna hit 1-0s, 2-0s, 3-0s. But I think like until you hit like top 8, you're probably not hitting players that are as good as ladder players. So it's
True.
like, would you rather just hit like these 8 or 9 out of 10 players like throughout all of ladder, or do you want to like start with like 2 3s and then work your way up to like 5 6? Like no, it's just like it's really not very close. And don't get me wrong, like there's nothing wrong with playing these online tournaments. Like it's a lot more fun, I think, to you can chat with your opponent a little bit more. But if your goal is strictly to improve, I think it's the time commitment is definitely not worth it.
Yeah, the value, the return on investment that you get on
Mm-hmm.
ladder is way higher than if you were playing limitless tournaments, right?
100%. Yep.
Yeah, so Henry, that kind of comes towards the end of our questions that we have for you. But like, what's next for you? Obviously, you've won a tournament, you've locked up your World's Invite. So congratulations on that and your success. But what's next for you this season? How many events you plan on playing, and what's your schedule looking like?
Yeah, it's weird because when I was first like thinking about this tournament season, I wasn't planning on going to like too much stuff, and then I saw the locations and they all sort of work out for me. I mean, Baltimore is sort of my backyard, and then I have like stipend for LAIC. My dad lives in Indiana, so I'm gonna stay with him when I go to Louisville. So yeah, I mean, and then I always wanted to go to like Toronto. I have a friend in San Antonio, so I think yeah, you can expect to see me at probably at least like 7 or 8 majors this season, probably.
Cool.
Incredible.
Yeah, so that's all the questions we have. Henry, people want to get coaching. They want to talk to you about Gardevoir. They, want to know who your sponsors are. Any shout outs you got?
No, I mean I'm just a guy who started playing recently. Like I don't have any sponsors. I don't really do coaching. Feel free to ask me any questions. You can my Twitter DMs are generally open, so you can ask me there. But yeah, besides that, yeah, if you hit me on ladder, say what's up to me. That's for sure. But yeah, no, besides that, I'm still starting out myself. I really am still sort of a new face here. So yeah, don't have too much info.
You heard it
You
here
wanna-
first. That's free coaching in the DMs.
No.
Yeah, if you want to, if people want to like know what your ladder is, I know you had it on your Twitter. What's your Twitter handle and what's your ladder handle?
Yeah, my Twitter handle is I think it's just hchow999. I don't think there's like an underscore in there.
I don't think
And
so. Either.
then
Yeah.
my ladder is eatfood86. So yeah, if you hit me on ladder, talk about the games. I don't know if I can't coach everyone throughout the Twitter DMs. I'm sorry.
Sure.
But yeah, if you just have any quick questions, I'm happy to respond to them.
Yeah, Henry, thanks so much for coming on the Beach Court Podcast, man. This was a pleasure talking to you. And next up, we'll have the group back, and we'll be talking about Stellar Crown meta. So stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back. Thanks for Nolan Randall and Henry Chow for joining the Beach Court Podcast. I hope you guys really enjoyed those interviews. They were both very insightful. I learned a lot from both of them. That's why we bring them to you, so you can learn about their decks and take it from the people who play the deck and built the deck. And even at the end, you heard Henry talk about win rates and building spreadsheets and tracking your results and things like that. I know he mentioned that he wasn't able to show it, but I just want to add in that I'm going to add it on the screen. You should have already seen it. And if you didn't, make sure you go back and look at it. And if you're listening on Spotify, Google, Apple, thank you for listening over there. We really appreciate you. But jump over to the YouTube, press like and subscribe while you're there, and then jump forward to the spot so you can see the spreadsheet that Henry was mentioning. But yeah, we're back here with Maddox and Parker, and we're going to close out talking about the tournament structure from Baltimore. We touched on it a little bit, that the structure is just really tough. You have to win 7 games and 2 losses. You have to have 21 points to make day 2 now. There was exactly 129 people that made day 2. So that meant that one person got to play all of day 2 and did not go home with a booster box. So, Mr. 129, you are no longer Mr. Irrelevant, but you are Mr. But you didn't even show up.
As Thomas Deemter.
No, Matthew Ellison says 129, right?
On Limitless, it says Thomas Deemter.
Oh, on Limitless is different than this. Oh, okay.
Yeah. What's it called? Poke. What is that site? Pokedata.
Pokedata.
Yeah. Yeah, that is not official standings. Well, actually, wait. Well, it says this is on.
Anyways,
site. I don't know. But
whoever got 129th, sorry you got 129th, but you're not Mr. Relevant, but you are now Mr. You also get half a box, just like Maddox and Parker, and had to play a whole extra day. But yeah, we saw a bunch of people. We saw a good amount of people make day 2 at the 7-2 number, and had to go 4-0 to get to 33 match points for asymmetrical cut. I think that's a new standard of where we are. That 33 is now the new standard. While we have 9 rounds, there's potential in Louisville that we'll have 8 day 1 rounds. So We're still waiting on the final numbers, but there is potential that we might have only 8 rounds in Louisville. But when you have a 9-round tournament, which is over 2,049 people, the standard is going to be 33 points for asymmetrical cut. So we saw 4 people miss out on money after losing their top 8 winning in to get to 33. We saw a lot of different things, but I'll stop rambling. Max and Parker, what stood out to you about the structure in the tournament?
You go for
Go
it.
ahead.
No,
No, you
well,
go.
we're both kind of in the same spot. I mean, like Parker, I was gonna say to you, right? Like, right, you were 6-1, and normally in every tournament in the past, we just say, okay, hey, I'll try to win this one, but if I lose, then I can always ID the next one, or you have a chance to enter in at 7-1 and maybe more. But now with that 6-2, now with that 7-2 threshold, like at 6-1, we're not even. Oh, I'm in. I'm effectively in. So I mean, yeah. I mean, what did you think about it?
Yeah, it definitely sucked having to play. Like, I don't know if the 2 opponents I played against in the old structure would have even
Right, like
accepted an ID,
exactly. Yeah,
but it was like, if I played like some other person at 6-2, we could have just ID'd into day 2. Um, so like that stinks. Like definitely like the people like going down the list of people like in day 2, it is very, very stacked.
yeah,
But um it was just like it was so crushing to just be like 6-1, like yeah, like hell yeah, it's a pretty good record. And now I'm just like, didn't cross the line. But yeah, I don't know. I think the new tournament structure kind of bogus. I think like what was the point of cutting the rounds in day 2? Because like now there's like just way bigger bubbles on each threshold and stuff, and like I don't know. Like I think the asymmetrical cut's cool, and like yes, to do that, that they have to cut a round. I like cut 2 rounds, I suppose, but
right.
like I'm not a fan right now. I guess, and not just because I didn't make day 2. I'm just not a fan. Like just because like like 9 people played their hearts out and like didn't get it, even though they had the same match points for like top 32, and like
Yeah.
more rounds, differentiates that and stuff. But
Now, Parker, we talked a little bit last episode about should we or should we not gentleman's agreement, and I think like we saw a lot of that in Baltimore. That a lot of people understood at least what gentlemen's were a lot more now, and a lot of people were doing it. Where did you end up in Baltimore? Did you start doing gentlemen's throughout the tournament, or what was your stance throughout the tournament?
my opponent and I discussed it round 2, and we're just super nice guy. He was just like, I think taking the tie this early isn't bad. I was like, sure, like that's fine. I ended up just popping off game 3 and going like Killy Rotom and Pidgey, and then oops. And then and then kill Lumineon in something else with
Alicia.
with yeah. So I was just like, that's just how I won game 3. But so I didn't need the gentleman's agreement or anything. But we definitely did it round 8 with Rowan and
Yeah.
stuff, and
Like your other middle of the rounds, like no one ever brought it up. You didn't bring it up.
no, we brought it up round 3 again. I played the Drago mirror, but it that mirror sucked because like both games I was prime catcher away basically from like either winning or being like such a good spot. But um no, we went to game 3 and he just beat me. That was it.
Yeah. Okay. Max, what about you? What are your thoughts on the structure?
Yeah, I mean, again, I kind of talked about this in our earlier segment too, but just again, 501, like normally in the older structure, you feel very comfortable, very locked to say, hey, I need to win one of my next 3 games to be locked in. And then I was there at 501 being like, hey, it's still like if I lose like 2 of my next 3, then I'm out, which again, like, or if, like maybe doomer mindset. Like, I don't know if I should have had that thought and just said like, hey, I just, just keep executing. But again, like, end up in a spot where it says, okay, hey, did have a couple back-to-back games and then was just like quickly out of it. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the new structure. Again, I know we're playing like a true Swiss rather than a modified Swiss like we used to. I think it'll never feel good playing less games of Pokemon And also to the point that you made that there are a lot of, when you look at the list of players that did make day two, right, a much smaller number, I think closer to just like a 5%, in the day two rather than like be like a 10% before.
Right. Usually it would have been
Again,
like 2100, 21.
right. So this like this top 5%, when you see a lot of strong players in that top 5%, I think you also see a lot of, very strong players that are just missing out as well. A lot of very good players ended up, 6-3, 6-2-1 as well, which again, like, I think in a way it's okay to make the tournament like a little bit more cutthroat like that.
Right,
And just saying
right.
like, hey, in order to win the tournament, you have to do this well,
Yep.
type of thing. And that threshold is saying, hey, you cannot lose more than 2 games and win the tournament.
Yep.
It's kind of like the choice that's being made here, which again is different, but also like from the cases we've seen before, that's kind of what it's always been, except you had to do that same thing in more rounds. So maybe, or I guess before you could go like 12-3, if you're 12-3 at 36, and that was like bubble.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like the old structure. So I think more games, playing more Pokemon is always good. Again, we're taking a little bit of time to adjust to this structure, which I think like I still want to see it a little bit more. Again, it hurts being 6-2-1 and being like, okay, I don't have as much a show for this as I could before. But in terms of, okay, but this is the new, if I want to win the tournament, then I need to do 7-2, and that's the new bar that's set. So it's just adjusting to that. Back to your point on like gentlemen's agreements. Like I wasn't going through and like offering them every round. I think when it got to a game 3 situation, then we would kind of discuss and say, hey, we want to make sure we see a resolution here. Again, I had a tie in round 2, so like it was kind of like, that tie, we were kind of, it was like, okay, this could naturally come up. I thought it was fine to take an early tie. To that point though, an early tie, right? If the difference is 6-2-1 or 6-3, right? Like Parker was on bubble for top 256. At 6-2-1, I was clearly locked into top 256.
Right.
And also when we add this to like, if you make day 2, right? If you finish
Money
like a
bubbles don't become a
10-2-1,
problem.
if you finish
Right.
10-2-1, for example, versus 10-3, well, now you're probably more firmly into like money than maybe on the bubble out of money type of thing. So
Sure.
I don't necessarily view it like, I almost think one tie is okay in this format. It just kind of bumps you up that place if you're replacing it. Again, I think if you're turning a win into a tie, that's bad. But if it's a game that you're going to lose and you're able to,
Right.
and that becomes a tie where it says, okay, maybe I lose this, but I took a tie or I'm in a very unfavored matchup and game 3 never starts, so it's a tie. Like maybe sometimes that's a net positive for you. So again, I think it remains to be seen. I'm not saying like, obviously don't slow play your way into a tie. If it's like, oh man, I'm totally in trouble here unless I take 17 minutes for my next 3 turns, right? I mean, I don't think that's the way Pokemon should be played. But again, like, I think there is some benefit to that tie that a lot of players would say they had, where it says, hey, I was not on bubble for top 56, I was squarely in. Anyone who was top 16 or top 32 clearly locked in at 10-3-1 or 10-0-2 or something like that, would probably say like, hey, that was a benefit for me. Of course, if I could have won the game instead of a tie, that'd be better. But a tie is okay sometimes. So, Eric, I don't know your thoughts. I know you've been big on making a gentleman's every round. Did you go into the tournament making a gentleman's every round?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at how many people have 18 match points that bubbled also.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Dude,
it's a long list.
257 all the way down to 374 had 18 match points.
Oh
That's
my
what I mean.
god.
Like, I mean, that's like
Holy
that's a new threshold here, right? Where some people,
Oh my god.
right, where some people for the same record got half a box, other people got 9 packs. I mean, and again, like these thresholds, like, but when we talk about for money, about splitting out with like a golf rules, like I don't know if you could do the same thing here. Like, we're gonna take this pool and now stretch it out to
I
another.
think you only apply it
100
to
people.
money. I think you only apply it to money. You
Yeah,
don't apply it to packs, you only apply it to money.
Yeah, that's fair. But anyway, I mean, Eric, what did you think? I mean, were you going gentlemen's every
Yeah,
round? type of thing?
I was offering gentlemen's every round. I didn't always do it at the start of the game because I didn't want it to get that way. But if it was becoming clear that we were getting to a game 3, I was offering it into every round. Because to your point, Maddox, like a tie is good for your bubble percentage, like your helps on the bubbles. But like you said, if you're turning what could have been a win into a tie, it's very bad for you. And I think the numbers now, especially with a 9-round tournament, are very clear. You need 33 match points. You need to win 11 matches. You don't need 10 wins and 2 ties, etc., etc. You need 11 wins. So when your goal, like my goal is to win a tournament, top cut a tournament and win a tournament, I need to have 11 wins to do that. As well as I need 7 wins to make day 2. Now, what I would like to see is, like while the structure is what the structure is, I'm fine with the 7-2, right? I'm totally fine with, hey, you need 21 match points to go to day 2. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with, Parker, while it was unfortunate, I'm fine that you had to play your last 2 rounds. Because like it's a tournament, it's a competitive atmosphere. I was never a fan of IDing and going in day 2. I was always against it because, again, I want to win the tournament, so I want to advance my state. I want to make my day 2 easier, or less wins I have to get in day 2 because I expect to win every game of Pokemon I play when I'm at a tournament. With that being said, what I do want to see is some sort of resolution with the time rules, whether it be, hey, we will no longer have ties, at all, like VGC, because VGC doesn't offer ties, even IDs, right? That's not a thing in VGC. So I would not be opposed to that. Well, yes, does that hurt some decks like, the stall decks? Does it hurt some strategies that are in the card game? Absolutely. And I think that's okay, right? I think that's if that becomes the structure, then that becomes your choice to play a deck that's hurt by that, right? But like we have rules to handle tiebreakers. We use them in Top Cut. I was affected by it yesterday in my Top Cut match, right? We had 60 minutes best of 3, and we didn't get to finish the full game 3, and so it came down to prizes, and he was able to win the exchange, so he won. And that's okay. That's on me to scoop sooner in game 2 versus waiting to see what I get off of the Iona 2. But or the unfair stamp to 2 is what it was. But it's just kind of, I just don't like the ties. Like if you're in a tournament, there should be a winner and a loser, right? Like that we're not here hand holding. We're not like giving participation trophies, right? Like there needs to be a winner and loser every round, and let's move on. And this will speed our rounds up. We don't have to do these awkward conversations with our opponents. Figuring out a board state or whatever. It's like, no, clearly, if you're ahead on prizes after 3 turns, you win. If you're not, it's sudden death, and whoever takes the next prize wins, right? They've got clear rules defined. I want to see that implemented in Swiss. I mean, I'm not saying I'd do it right now for this season, but obviously through one event, I clearly know that's what I want. So I'm hoping we get that next season. I'll play this season, how it is, because I'm already here, and I love it. But I think that's a change that we need in this game. What are you guys?
I think you should go play on the Japanese circuit.
No, I don't want best of ones. No, I don't want best of ones. I definitely don't want best of ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is that, right, it's a best of 3 format. And when you have a best of 3, right, in Japan, again, it's best of 1. You say, hey, if 30 minutes to finish a game, if you don't finish a game, you both lose. All right. Like, that's just kind of how it is. And here, right, you run into spots where it says, okay, well, we never started game 3.
Right.
There's these cases like this. There's also cases where it's like, not everyone at the tournament is there to win the tournament. So even though that's the case, is that a reason to change the rules, or is that a reason to keep it casual? Or say, hey, if you don't finish the game, hey, a tie's fine. Like, oh, you're at, you're both 0-4 and you both played it and you couldn't finish game 3. And it's like, hey, look, you each got a match point. Like, again, I don't really feel like it's a participation trophy. At some point, it's just like, hey, this is the result of the match. It just is what it is. Right, for the video game, for example, there are no ties because it is a video game and it has all the tiebreakers that happen every single game in the background. That if it's like, oh, your Pokemon KOs this Pokemon and you run out of time in the match, and like it has checkers for all of that. So it's deciding a winner based off like the game's output. So I view that as a little bit different because there's nuance to playing cards. There's no chess timer to say, oh, well, this person took 35 minutes to play the set, but this person only took 15 minutes. And there's like this discrepancy here that can arise.
Yeah, that's fair.
Ultimately, it's just kind of like
there's
yes,
always gonna
I
be
think
something, right? There's
right.
always
I think
gonna be something.
Exactly. I mean, I think in a perfect world, like there could be it'd be cool if there was like, hey, every game, right? I think in a perfect world, in best 3 Pokemon, is that you play 3 games to completion, and that decides. Like that's what feels the most authentic.
Correct.
But then there's there's scarcity in life and in time at tournaments and in venue rental space. So like yes we want this complex Guardian mirror to happen where each game is 35 minutes, but also we can't be here all day. So like
Right.
at some point there has to be just like,
Right.
all right, hey, it's 50 minutes. If you can't finish the game and no one's clearly win or loss, and it's a tie, and like maybe that nuance is just okay. Without if we decide it's not okay, then we would need like a larger restructuring to say like, hey, Top Cut rules apply, or like if you're at right, maybe it's the rule. Hey, if you're 1-1 at the end of game 2 and game 3 hasn't started, you just flip a coin. Like
Just for Top Cut,
Dang.
they give them 75 minutes. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
75 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Top Cut gets 75 minutes and Top Cut rules, right? So they get an additional 25 minutes on what we get in Swiss, and sometimes they're still not finishing it, and those rules apply, right? Like, how is it reasonable to expect us to finish a good best of 3 in 50? Like, if you have these things that they're not going to finish, it's just it's a little weird to me. The differences in Top Cut and the differences, in Swiss, because like I'm going to be playing the same whether I'm in Top Cut or in Swiss. Like I'm always like laser focused. I did have another unique thought about like a tournament structure and moving a tournament along as we talk about time. Like, is there ever a world where like, and this is tough to say, right? But like everyone pays a certain dollar amount, so they're entitled to play Pokemon, right? Like that's what you come for. You want to play Pokemon, you want to learn, you want to get experience. But like, is there ever a world where like if you hit like 4 losses or 5 losses, like you're dropped from the tournament automatically to like have less people of turnover every round? Is that ever a
Mm.
thing that we should like try to get to?
No,
No.
in my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, like, people are there to have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, people are there, like,
Yeah.
parents are there
Yeah.
with their kids and stuff.
That's fair.
Like maybe if there was some kind of like invite only tournament that wasn't worlds or something, like you could auto get dropped at 3 losses or something, or I don't know, but like
Doesn't
a
Japan
open,
do that?
they have some kind of.
Don't they drop at 3 losses?
I don't think they drop.
No,
I
they
don't know
don't
if they do.
drop at 3 losses, but like they play like 12 rounds or something. Like best of 1, obviously, but like
Yeah.
they play like 12 rounds or something the first day.
I think there's some rule where like it does drop you after X amount of losses.
Yeah, I mean, they could have it. I mean, we're using golf as an example again, whereas like,
A cut.
you
Yeah.
had
Okay.
to have the cut for
Well,
round
that's like
6
that's
cut
I
or
mean that's the
That's
day two
21
cut.
21 match
That's the
points.
day. I mean,
That's
that's the
that.
day
It-
2 cut.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
But like, I don't know, somewhere else along the tournament or something like that. Or I
We
don't
talk
know.
about time, right? Like the reason why the rounds turnover is so long is because it's, if we had 48 people, that's 1,024 matches, 1,024 match slips that got to be scanned in, 1,024 signatures that have to happen. Like it's that way every
2028
round.
signatures.
yeah, but I feel like those. I mean, again, like those tables, like some of those games are like dropping on their own, and also, I mean, and I would argue that like it's very like I think it's more often that if we are in a time delay and says, oh, the round's taking a while to finish, it's not like, oh yeah, those folks at 1-6 are in a heated debate over the board state and can't and has a lengthy judge call, right? It's like the folks at 1-6 just said, I don't really care, I'm gonna go get dinner, you want to come with, and said sure, and they both dropped, right? Like
Yeah, no, they're
it's
laughing. They're laughing because their opponent hit 4 tails on Pokemon Catcher or something.
right, yeah,
Like, I don't know, it's
exactly,
like,
yeah. I mean, like the issue is probably at the top tables where like
Yeah.
where they're playing, like where we're not dropping them, so I'm not even sure if that's much of a time saving.
Well,
And
if you've been
I think you do find this because like as the tournament goes on, the time in between rounds do get faster because there are less people playing because some people are self-selecting to drop. But
Yeah.
kind of to Parker's point, like I think I think there is a world where there could be a world where we say, hey, yeah, we're dropping people at 4 losses or whatever. But also like since it's an inclusive game, like again, like we want people like if you're here to play Pokemon, like I
Yeah.
feel like if you pay, you're entitled to your 9
No, I
rounds,
agree. I mean, that's what I
8 to
said.
9
Like
rounds.
it's a fine line there for sure. And if you're listening and you've been to the Champions League and you know the answer to that question, let us know. Like, do they do that rule? Do they drop? I'm curious what your thoughts are in the comment. I see Max is already searching it up right now as I'm saying.
Well, I was thinking like of like Pokemon Go. Like I almost thought like they made
Pokemon Go has double
they
elimination.
do double
They do double
elimination.
elimination.
yeah, they do double elimination. Yeah, so there they are like dropped,
Yeah.
right, type of thing.
You are dropped after 2 losses.
Yeah, players eliminated from the tournament once they've lost 2 matches, right? It's not like, oh,
Yeah.
you keep playing in
Yep.
like the 0-3 bracket. It's like, or 0-2 bracket, right? It's like if you lose twice, you're just out.
Because like I was just looking at the numbers, right? Like the numbers are like 5-4 was all the way down to 524th place. So maybe the number like to be comfortable is like 5 losses. Like where does that where are we looking at 5 losses? I mean, we don't even have 5 lost people, really. I mean, you got 4. You got someone that's 4 or 5. Yeah, I mean, they're down to, I mean, so maybe 5 losses is the number. You know, I don't know. Like this person, let me just click on their name. I'm just curious. Yeah, this person was. I got their 5th loss in round 9. They lost to Anthony. I clicked on a random person that lost to Anthony round 5. What are the odds of that? What are the odds
It's
of
funny.
that? But yeah, I don't know. I just want to speed. I want to speed tournaments up. I want to see completion. We all want to like, we all want to go home. We all want to sleep. But we also want to play Pokemon.
Well, no,
right?
but yeah, we either we all want to play Pokemon or we all want to go home.
Well, like,
I
it's
ain't going to a
everything.
Pokemon tournament to sleep. There's no Pokemon sleep
I mean, like at
tournaments
some
yet.
point, like like I guess you want day 1 to finish sooner. Is what I'm trying to say. Like for the people that make it day 2, people that are trying to win the tournament, they want day 1 to finish sooner so they can get some sleep and play day 2 better. Right? I don't know. I'm rambling at this point, and we're way off topic.
Here's my thought: if like, but also like, if you want to rest sooner for day 2, then win round 9 quicker, right? I mean,
Yeah,
like, cool, I won.
exactly.
I'm 7-2. I'm going to bed. Like,
Yeah,
but I mean,
exactly.
like, I don't like, I don't know. But I mean, again, you're right. It's like there's 2 levels to this, right? Because there's one where it says, hey, only 5% of the people that play on Saturday have a chance to win the tournament.
Yeah.
So like, yes, you want this to be a competitive tournament and to give them the best chances for that, but also there's this other 95% of people that paid to be there,
right,
and still want the experience, whether they were in contention to win until the very last round or were never in contention to win, type of thing. And I mean, it makes running events difficult. I don't think they have a perfect system for it. And again, I'm happy like when the tournament runs smoothly and efficiently, and we're not like waiting too long. Just like, at your locals, it's like, okay, hey, this is 30-minute rounds.
Yeah, I'm just like, Parker, can you move it along?
No.
He's waiting on the guy playing Ancient Hybrid Box to finish sequencing everything. Those single prize decks take a while.
Nah,
You know it.
I'd win.
But did you?
Anyways, that's going to do it for this episode of the Beach Court Podcast. Next episode in 2 weeks, we'll talk all about Dortmund results, Stellar Crown, give you our Louisville meta forecast for Louisville, as well as our tier predictions. So stay tuned for that. But that's all we got for this week. So thanks for everyone for listening. Hope you have a good weekend.
See ya.